Hello. Hello. Why is my... God, this music app is so bad. All good, though. Hello, a wild Max. Hello, old man. Yep, it's been a while. The last couple streams I've done have been purely Terrace Land. And also, I was just away for a long weekend, so it's been a minute. Been a minute. Max, chance playing this furry roguelike... What the hell? No. Max, do you think England are the luckiest team to ever reach the Euro finals? Yes. I say that with absolutely no knowledge of that being true or not. Fuck it, let's just go live right now. Why not? Hello. Hello. Dude, so much has happened since I last streamed about WoW. I have not streamed WoW since before Shamans got their raid buff. I think it's been over a week. So, woohoo. So we got a lot to go over. Such a slacker? I mean, I've just been playing Terra's Land a lot, and also being on I mean, I was on vacation. I went to that like family gathering thing I told you all about. Well then, Max, another week and still 9 2-pointers on the enhancement tree. From what it sounds like they're not doing shit about that. Like, Blizzard seems to be full in the tuning phase. I think Enhance is probably getting left in the dust until the first patch. Which, if there's any spec in the game... Well, Enhance are not going to want to hear that. It definitely feels bad. Similar to being the last class to get an actual raid buff. It does feel bad to be, like, the last spec with 2-pointers still in your tree. But at least Enhance, like, works. Hero talent situation isn't great. Okay, Enhanced probably have a good reason to be upset. But I don't know, I feel like you could still play Enhanced and it would still be really fun. And at least they baked in that feral lunge thing, right? But yeah, I don't know. You're definitely going to feel a lot better in the first patch, probably. It hurts when the raid buff kills your hero talent choices. Huh? How does that work? What is it? I'm still going to main Enhance because I love the spec, but I won't be happy about it. Yeah. Totemic used to give passive Wind Fury to Enhance. What? Holy Priest still has 10 2-point nodes in the spec tree before all the capstones too. Oh damn, get slapped, get owned. Now the raid buff does it? How does that fuck your hero talent thing? Can we get a clean update? How clean is Max today? What does that mean? What do you mean by that? You will be shit at launch, but gonna pop off. I don't think it has anything to do with their power level at launch. Yeah. It's so much better because you don't have to put down the goddamn totem all the time. Oh, yeah. When you'd shower? We shower every day. There's some times when I don't shower. I think the only scenario where I don't shower is if the whole day went by, I didn't do anything athletic or outside that would cause me to sweat. And then I have an early morning skate in which I would shower after it anyway. So basically the only thing happening between me going to bed and when I shower next is I wake up, go to the hockey rink, do a workout, and then shower immediately after. What's the point of showering the night before that, if that makes sense? Like, I can show up to that smelling like whatever. Who cares? I'm going to smell worse in a second, you know? So I think that's the only scenario where I would usually not shower a day is some scenario like that, which does happen pretty frequently. Actually, that's not true. I usually skate every day, so it's pretty infrequent. Are we going to watch the Race World First Harumared video? We already did. Last time I streamed. I think the last time I had a WoW stream was not 2 days ago Monday. It was 9 days ago, last Monday. Like, not this Monday, but the previous Monday. I think was the last time I streamed WoW. So we have a lot of stuff. We have, like, raid testing to go over. We have any potential dev notes that have been released, which I think there might be 2 entire dev notes, which they're not probably going to be super interesting. They're probably just, I mean, I think they're in the phase where they're just going to be making numbers work, which honestly should be their top priority. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to, like, classes right now in WoW, but, like, everything is fucked. Like, some classes, hero talents are doing all of their damage. Some classes, it's doing none of their damage. People are doing, like, twice as much damage as other classes. Like, they need to get on this shit fast. At least we have a heroic week this time for them to figure that shit out. But, like, going into Dragonflight, which was a much bigger undertaking, mind you, every single hero talent tree or every single class and spec tree was brand new. And the tuning was like, we knew what the best comp was for the first raid like 2 weeks ago in the last beta cycle. And it didn't change and it was correct. Like, and if anyone were to say they think they know what a good comp is right now in raid, would be just fucking lying to you. Like, you just, the classes you would pick are classes that are clearly doing like 50% more damage than they're supposed to. Like, it's just all nonsense. Multiple healer specs just don't work or are doing 0 healing. Like, there's no way you could make a comp. It's all nonsense. Yeah, so I don't know. Let's see. So, Max, are you going to be here on Friday's TGP? Last weekend needed your voice and hype. I think I'm going to be here. I mean, I was at a family event all weekend, so I didn't watch any of the TGP. And I also kind of wasn't interested at all. I didn't even like check to see who won or anything like that. I just, or how it went. I'm recording a podcast. This is a little bit of a spoiler. I'm recording a podcast with Dratnos and Growl in a few hours after my stream ends here. And I can maybe hear from them how it went. But yeah, I mean, I was like kind of completely uninterested in it. I had some other stuff going on, so yeah, I'll do I mean, I assume I'll do it this weekend if I don't have anything else going on. Like, if there's not a new... okay, the new Terra's Land boss comes out on Thursday. So on Thursday... so tomorrow. Which means that a new Terra's Land boss isn't coming out until Sunday. Okay, so I won't stream it on Sunday. On Sunday, we're going to be... I think it's Sunday there's the last boss comes out in Terra's Land, and I'll definitely be doing that instead. But if there's not a new Terra's Land boss, I will probably stream the TGP. Although I heard the first weekend is supposed to be a lot better than the second. Like, at least if I remember correctly, the last time I looked at these groups, they were like kind of one team. Okay, so 3 teams qualify, right? Shit, where's the... okay, sure. Actually, so this one was interesting because this one had 4 teams that looked really strong. And I guess it turned out being 5 teams because Perplexed didn't even qualify. But like going into this weekend, I would have assumed Perplexed, Mandatory, and then probably Pedro's per hour, but also maybe Madge would qualify. And I was wrong. Like Perplexed didn't qualify, and then these 2 did. So that would have been interesting to watch. But I was out of town and I didn't watch it at all. This next weekend, where can I see the next weekend's thing? Group B. Show me Group B. How do I look at Group B? Just a list of the teams on this website. Can you not do that? Group A. Group... this... Change it to B in the URL? Wait, that's actually fucking sick. You're a genius. I mean, that you can't even find that on the actual... You can't even find that on the actual website. You have to actually type it in the URL. Dude, you're a fucking genius. All right, yeah, so you have, like, Echo, but only 3 teams are going to qualify from this. And Echo is Echo. Missed Count is last minute from the last TGP and the last MDI. Like, the AJ team, they're super good, right? And then Hope is Dorky's team. And then Dradnos' guild team also put up good times, but then these other 2 teams, they were in the time trials, they were 3 whole key levels below the rest of the top, like, 9 teams or something. So, like, these 2 teams are going to get smoked. So it's basically, like, to see who qualifies here, but even then, I would be willing to bet that these 3 end up qualifying. So it's like, what are we even watching for, you know? The global finals should be sick, but I don't know. That kind of sucks because Sunday will probably be a banger, but it's Terraslane Gaming. Yeah, dude. I cannot begin to describe to you how much fun our group is having playing that game. The game is so bad. Like, it has all these, like, mobile game shitty menus and, like, currencies, but, like, when you're doing a new raid day 1 on Challenge, that's some of the best raiding content I've ever seen. It's, like, comparable with WoW tier Mythic Week 1 quality shit. It makes no sense why the raid design in that game is so good. And the class design. The classes have... Remember that Asmongold take? Where Asmongold was like, classes should have 10 buttons? Bro, that game has 7 DPS buttons and 3 swappable, like, different situational utility buttons, and the gameplay is fucking amazing. So, like, he kind of cooked with that. Not saying I don't think WoW should ever do that, but you can certainly make a great game with that. That game is. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I haven't looked forward to things as much as I've looked forward to a new Terraslane boss in a long time. That shit is so fun, and it's at the perfect time because there's absolutely nothing going on in WoW right now. So just absolute perfect time killer. Were you surprised Perplex went out early? I guess when I heard that I was surprised. I didn't watch any of the tournament, and I honestly didn't really give a fuck about it at all. So yeah. What is it? Can you talk about how you jumped into a random raid last night at 10 p.m. off stream? Yeah, I did do that. I did like a little undercover raid leading in Terrasland, unironically. I like tuned into some guy's stream with 100 viewers and they were struggling on a boss and I just said invite me and then I just did like 30% more DPS than the next person and then they killed it in one pull after pulling it for 3 days. Let's see. Are there some liquid players in the TGP? Yeah, on some teams. Max, did your family vacation have a brawl or a ball? All right, let's start there. All right, so I've told you guys about this before. So I had a family gathering this last weekend, and it kind of is of some significance. I'll give you the backstory again. So my mom is one of 9 children from a farm family in Wisconsin, and they all had a ton of kids. So I have like 30 first cousins. I have a bunch of aunts and uncles, all that shit. All right? And that's who the party was for. There's over 70 people there. Why it's kind of significant is that family, unfortunately, has been torn apart by a few things, but mostly politics. So like half of those 9 are MAGA Republicans, and the other half are like extremely liberal Democrats. And as you could expect, they're old as fuck people, so they're all like brainwashed by the media they listen to, and they're rooting for their sports teams, so they can't like talk to each other anymore. Some real sad shit. But for whatever reason, since 2016, none of them have gotten along at all. So we used to have these lake house gatherings at one of my uncle's lake houses every summer, and we haven't done that in a very long time, mostly because of this. And that's really sad because I think all of them are really cool and I like seeing my family and stuff like that. But anyways, it hasn't happened. But then last year, really sad, one of our cousins had a stillborn and I think they had a funeral for it. And most of the people, or not a stillborn, I think it like died like a few days after birth. Really sad. And it got everyone together and everyone showed up to this funeral a year ago. And they got to like meet everyone again for the first time in a while, and apparently it went really well. So that prompted this lake house gathering that I was at last weekend for the 4th of July. So you guys, I told you guys about this ahead of time, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to let you guys know how it goes, but it's going to be memorable no matter what. Either it's going to be a really fun, sweet time where you're seeing people for the first time in a while, or it's going to be a very memorable time because like someone gets drunk and brings up the fucking debate and then it just all hell breaks loose, right? So it was going to be interesting no matter what. So I'll give you my impressions from the weekend for any of you guys who care. So number one, this was one of the first times in my life that I have seen a lot of my younger cousins for the first time in 6 years. So I saw kids that were like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now they're like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and that was a fucking shock. Like, the last time I saw one of these kids, I was throwing them around in the pool like a football, and now they're like as tall as me. And that was fucking weird. That was like the first time that's happened in my life, actually, where I've like seen someone over that long period of time and they're just like all grown up, and that's crazy. So that was cool. That was the first thing that happened. I will give you guys a spoiler. The party was not ruined by politics. Everyone had a really good time. That's the spoiler. But I will give you a couple of funny anecdotes from some of my very right-wing uncles and aunts that happened when I was there. So number one, I have one uncle who's was not religious when he was younger, but he reformed to religion later in life. If you guys know anyone like this, they're usually psychotically religious. People who are like late reformers. So he was going around asking all of our, especially female cousins, if they are spreading the word of the Lord. And he went up to my sister and was like, "You're an ER doctor. You are the ministry of God. You need to be spread." And then my sister is just like, "Man, shut the fuck up." Like, could not. So like that was happening, which was pretty fun to see happen just from like a spectator point of view. And then here's another one. This is the first person I talked to, one of my aunts, who's a huge right-wing Republican. Which again, by the way, I just want to point out, I don't care about that. Like I like all of my aunts and uncles, generally speaking. But just giving you some context. And I say hi, and then everyone's wondering about me. And since the last time at our family gathering, I've kind of blown up a little bit. Like, people in the family are like, "Oh, Max is here." Like, he's, my mom's very proud of me. So anytime she can, she is going to tell everyone about everything I'm doing. And a lot of these people don't understand the world of video games and streaming. I mean, how could they? They're like fucking ancient. But like, I was definitely the prize pony at that party. Like, people were like, "Oh wow," like all about this. So my aunt is like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Like, "Yeah, I heard so many good things about you, and I heard you like moved across the country." I was like, "Yeah, I have a house in LA." And this is the first person I talked to that is not of my immediate family at this party. And I kid you not, she rips. "Are you not concerned about all of the illegals?" The very first fucking thing. Dude, at that moment, I was like, this is gonna be a fucking disaster of a party. And somehow that was like only one of two things to happen like that. And it just makes you think that, it's so funny that she said that. I played it off like a beast too. Like, I just like kept it rolling and just changed topics, but I was like, "No, I mean, seems fine to me," and then I just moved on. And she was like, "Oh, weird." It's like some people are so like, forget what side you're on, are so consumed with their own media that they wouldn't even begin to think that there's another point of view, right? Just crazy. Anyways, Just the first thing you rip after not seeing someone in 10 years is that. Anyways, that's the only one of two weird things that happened. So like an hour went by and I was talking to another one. I was like talking with my mom, my aunt, and then I think my mom's uncle. So not someone I'm like directly related. Well, I mean, I guess I technically am related to them, but like very distantly, and I barely ever met them. So keep in mind, this person doesn't know me, and we're just talking, and it got brought up again. And it's just like, oh, like, yeah, I heard you're doing really well. Like, you like bought a house recently? I'm like, yeah, I bought a house in LA. And then you could see his like facial expression change, and then and it wasn't even like a dumbass saying this. He said this while being very pensive, like very thoughtful, and he was like, well, do you have to deal with a lot of immigrants? It's basically the same thing. That I guess he didn't call them illegals, but like, it was just so funny that he said it in a way that was, I guess. So what I'm gathering from this family meet is whatever right-wing media there is, I'm assuming they talk about immigrants in California a lot. Oh, I could definitely tell that when I told people I lived in LA, their expression just changed. This side of my family, like, I'm assuming that like California is like a boogeyman for like Republican news coverage or something. I have no clue if this is true, but like, if you tell people you live in LA, they're instantly like, oh, well, when are you moving out of there? It's like, I don't know. It seems good. I don't know. So that's been my impression of that, but I have no idea. I don't listen to any of that shit. But what is this, Max? According to right media, LA and San Francisco are lawless hellscapes of murderous immigrants and homeless people. That is the exact impression I got from all of my Republican aunts and uncles, which is it's just crazy how like, okay, so let's just, if you use logic, right? Let's just say you listen to all of the like fucking brainwash media that all these old people listen to all the time, regardless of which network you watch. If you hear that I have a house in LA, my first thought would be, maybe this person isn't a Republican, right? Or maybe there's a chance. So maybe I'll approach this with a little bit more nuance than, oh, I assume you're also like me. So aren't you terrified of this place? Or like nothing. They don't use any of that. It's just like, it's just immediately, aren't you scared of all the illegals? It's just fucking, it was just insane to listen to. But yeah, I mean, anyways, that's like the only bad thing that happened at this party. I had a great time. I fucking was riding around on the jet ski. Went out with a couple, like my niece. My niece is so awesome, and she went out there on the jet ski with me. And I'm pretty wild on the jet ski. I like go crazy on that shit. And then like I let her drive it a little bit, and I never hold on, just to like dare her to try to knock me off. And for the first time ever, she knocked me off the jet ski. She like took like a hard turn and just fucking flew me the fuck off of that thing. So I was pretty proud of her for that. And then yeah, we went back. Stayed later than a lot of other people. Had a nice little fire at night. A lot of mosquitoes, which is kind of annoying, but yeah, I don't know. It was just a hell of a great time. And my family, I think, healed a little bit from this gathering, which was great. And I hope to do it again. I really missed, even though a lot of my, family has like been torn apart over that stuff. I just really miss these people. They meant a lot to me as a kid. So being able to see everyone talking and getting along and being able to put that stuff aside, even if it's just for a day, is really cool, because it seems like that's not really possible in this country right now, but it was possible for one day with all these people that I know disagree. So that was sweet. Had a nice time. And that is why I was not streaming the TGP. You would have had to be in my... I just realized this. It's probably hard to keep up with me if you're like a fan of my stream, because I don't like tweet anything. Like, I probably should have tweeted I wouldn't be streaming that weekend and why, but like I talked about it on stream, and I don't know. I don't like just tweeting things. So I just didn't do that. So if you guys were ever confused why I was gone, I guess now you know. But yeah, I also had to explain what my job is 1,000 times, which was getting a little annoying. Oh, I hear you're doing this thing. Oh, you're a streamer? How does that work? Well, I do this and this and this. Oh, and okay. And that's like advertisements and, I had to do that like 100 times, but that was cool. I just assumed you had died. I didn't stream for 3 days and your assumption was that I died? Like, that's the most likely thing to have happened. Guys, I can't be killed. I'm a fucking monster, dude. You could not take me out. I'm a beast. No way. I'm a survivor. If you put me in like the middle of a forest, like one of those shows, I would be insanely alive. I would thrive. I would like become the king of the jungle, man. You'd be dead? No shot. Max, the Llama Todd thing was wild. Oh, yeah. Wow. I don't know if anyone's paying attention to that. If you guys have ever heard of, like, Xeno. He's a Final Fantasy streamer. Really good streamer. Llama Todd, another really good streamer. Does Final Fantasy content. They've been in, like, this long-ass lawsuit. I'm not going to, like, tell you the whole story. There's, like, multiple YouTube videos about it. Dude, basically, if you saw one of my replies, I don't even think I can say it. I can watch it on stream because he says the bad F word multiple times. But I wouldn't even want you guys to listen to it because it's genuinely disturbing. Like, you're listening to an actual fucking psychopath. Just what, like, he's basically stalked and harassed Xeno and Llama Todd as streamers for a while, and it's hard to listen to. What is it? Xeno's video of it censors it all. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about the one that I like replied to on Twitter, which was uncensored. But yeah, I mean, you shouldn't even listen to it. Like, it just sounds like someone with a mental break that just has like hates streamers and wants them dead. It's some crazy shit. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with some shit like that. Thank God I play WoW, dude. The weirdos in WoW are just not anywhere near that crazy. Like, it's like the Final Fantasy weirdo is like an extra level of weird. Let's see. Max, do you see the new F1 movie and Gladiator 2 trailers? Nah, I haven't. That's not true. You should talk to RBG players. Oh, I know about RBG players, yeah. British Grand Prix was Pog. Dude, I've just been like, I think there's been 2 entire beta notes released. There has. So anything that's been released since last Monday afternoon, and I know there was a beta build that came out after I stopped streaming WoW because it just took so long to come out. I think wasn't there a beta build that Monday, and then wasn't there one this Monday, and then also yesterday? Something like that. But again, I don't think they're like huge notes. I think they're mostly just like we're tuning some stuff. And there might be something to look at. Thoughts on Mythic testing? Yeah, we can look at that too. We did that today. I think tomorrow's going to be a lot more interesting. But I think there's maybe what we do is tomorrow. Oh no, I won't have time to go over it tomorrow because new Terraria boss, but let's see. Frank isn't making a Dragonflight rewind. Yep, stay mad. They added a new Mythic affix and new mechanics to Mythic dungeons like Mists. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Damn, how long is this Terraria stuff going to go for? I mean, I don't like stream it daily. I just stream it whenever new raid bosses are out. I mean, also, I think some people like watching it. Like, I've gone live multiple times in that game to do a new raid boss, and I sustained like 4 or 5K viewers the entire day. And it's not the Terraria section. The Terraria section has like 100 viewers in it at all times if I'm not streaming. Like, clearly there's a big crossover for people. I mean, I can just tell you this. If you enjoy watching us progress WoW bosses, or you find boss progression interesting on very hard bosses and watching the very best people do it, watching Terraria, it's all extremely visual. It's easy to follow. It's easy to understand. At least the feedback I've gotten from some people. It's just, you don't even have to understand Terraria to watch a really hard raid boss and understand how we're solving it. And they're just as good as WoW Mythic bosses. It makes no sense. It makes no sense how bad that game is, and then randomly they just like make some of the best raid bosses of all time. What is it, Max? I gotta make bread. Where do I drop all my money on for the TGP? I mean, you gotta put your money on Echo, right? I mean, even though Echo lost the last MDI, I feel like you just gotta put your money on Echo going into this weekend. I mean, maybe you'd put it on mandatory, but they're just not in this cup, so. That being said, the last time that Missed Count and Echo were in a TGP qualifying cup, not the finals, Missed Count looked a lot better. Echo ended up winning, I think. But Missed Count just looked better the whole weekend. But I don't know, that was like a year ago and a lot has happened since then. I guess that's like maybe one storyline. But who knows, man. Mandatory. Yeah, how did Mandatory look this weekend? I mean, they came in first and it looked like they won by an entire key level, but I'm assuming they looked real solid. They were so good. They've been extremely dominant all season. That's hype. Dude, that's hype, dude. I love having multiple people. I mean, for the longest time, right? Like, think about the race. Like, if the race had either Echo or us, and then, like, there was only one of those guilds and no one else was close, no one would care about the race. Like, both of our guilds have propelled the race so much by existing alongside each other. Like, for the longest time in the TGP and MDI, like, Echo was just, they just won by a lot every time, right? So, like, now if Mandatory can be a consistent, which they have been, even though it took them until last MDI to beat them, they have been that for a while. Like, if you watch the games, like, they were as good as Echo in the first MDI of Dragonflight, right? They just didn't win. So, like, having that team makes it so much more interesting rather than just, oh, Echo's just going to win. Max, you should watch the Dratnos vid of their Algathar Academy if you haven't seen the run. Ooh, maybe. I don't... maybe it'll change this weekend on Friday, but right now I don't give a fuck about the TGP. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, I missed last weekend, which was supposed to be the most interesting weekend, and I just, like, I didn't even think to check the score or anything. I was just, like, completely disinterested. But maybe that'll change this Friday. I think I'm going to try co-streaming this weekend, but maybe I'll just get bored. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not boring to me. Did you know the new meme among Mythic Plusers is tanks running Dratnos VIP routes? What do you know the answer to that question, right? Like, you have to know the answer to that question. Let's see. It's also unfair to put Hopeful in a team that just won MDI. Dude, Hopeful has stonks, dude. People think Hopeful's really good. Thank goodness you're here, Max. I really needed a slurp today. Yep, quick little slurp. I'm not going to be streaming for too long, but we are going to be yapping for a bit. People think. Well, no, I'm not. I mean, I've never played with Hopeful in, like, a Race World First Guild, so I have no idea how good Hopeful is. But that's also true of, like, almost all Twitch chatters. Like, you just have no clue how good someone is until you see them in that environment. So I'm saying is, like, Hopeful has built a lot of cachet within the community. Like, someone just typed, well, you had, like, the team that just won the MDI, and then you added Hopeful, which is, like, this, like, huge thing. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it's bad. Like, maybe he's earned that, and people think that kind of stuff for a reason, usually around people who stream a little bit. But it's just, it's good for him that he has that cachet before actually doing the race stuff. No shy, you just ripped a cachet. Yep, get on, little buddy. Max, how does Hunter/BM look on the beta? I have no clue. Ignore how anything looks on the beta right now. The game makes no sense on beta. What happens on live is complete. What's going to happen in season 1 is going to be completely unrelatable to what you're seeing on beta right now. Nothing makes sense. It's as if they haven't even tuned the game at all. They just announced major healing changes yesterday without changing anything. Yeah, I saw that. They like posted a bunch of philosophy about what they want to change with healing and why they're making the changes they're changing, and then they just didn't do that. So maybe you'll just, I guess it's a sign of things to come. My guildies are dooming and re-rolling over Mickey Mouse beta numbers. Yeah, that's tough. For sure. But people do be doing that. Max, does Templar feel good to play rotation-wise? Templar? Oh, for Ret? Yeah. So far. They reduced defensives that were percent HP based. Woo! Max, hunters are kind of bad with the Mark of the Wild raid buff on the boss that starts at 60% HP. Fuck, who? It's like the 4th boss. Who cares? Also, if that boss starts at 6% HP, doesn't that mean the dungeon version of the boss goes from 100 to 60? So you could argue that hunters are way too fucking good at that one because you're getting hunter's mark buff for 50% of the boss. Get owned. Let's go. Max, what do you think about the only class DK without a raid buff now? Yeah, it is interesting because, like, now basically every class in the game has something that does put them in the raid on every single fight. I guess that's kind of not true with Hunter, maybe, but I think most of the time will end up being true. And it has been accurate over a long period of time that, like, you know, Blood DK or DKs don't have a like raid buff, but they are always brought to raid, or very frequently, like almost all the time brought to raid, because there's some boss that does need grips, and that's like their version of a raid buff. But then there's problems with that. Like Blood DK is better at that than DPS DK. They have mass grip and they have a shorter cooldown regular grip, so that it's like it's kind of similar to the enhanced problem where, like, okay, yeah, you need a DK, but when you do, it's just always going to be blood because the reason you bring them, they're just better at it, right? And they're frequently really good tanks in raids. Yeah, so I mean, it probably would make sense in the game to give, now that you give shamans their thing. The reason why I always pushed back on DKs complaining about raid buffs is, like, shamans had a right to complain, but DKs kind of didn't. Because it's like, bro, shamans are like, we don't have a raid buff, and DKs are like, us too. But it's like, dude, fucking shut up. Like, you get brought to every hard boss ever because you always need a grip. Always. DPS DK has been played for, like, every end boss since forever. Like, what are you guys complaining about? Right? But now that shamans are going to be in the raid all the time, I think you could definitely, I mean, it wouldn't even change a lot either. You could just give DKs something like, I don't know, like just a little something, like something as minuscule as the Mark of the Wild thing, and then it just like solidifies it, you know, rather than just having a non-grip fight. Give DKs Red Aura. Dude, why were so many Paladins mad that they lost Red Aura? Like, dude, imagine there are classes complaining that they don't have a raid buff, and then Paladins had 2, and then they just removed your second one, and people are mad. Like, why? Why is any... people weren't actually mad? Bro, I saw some fucking... When I was away, I, like, browsed Twitter a little bit, and I saw a couple of Wowhead posts about Red Aura being removed. And it was, although to be fair, Wowhead Twitter replies are generally people who like don't play the game, that are like, they identify as Ret Paladins, and they're like, why did I lose? They're not complaining they lost a raid buff. They're complaining that they lost this like class identity thing that's always existed, and they're not thinking about it in terms of how it affects the game. They're just like, I lose this thing. That's generally what I think a lot of those comments were. But yeah, people were really mad about it. What is it? It got even harder to get a raid spot as a Ret Paladin? I mean... Yeah, I mean, why does it feel that way? It's because, like, with there only being one Paladin buff, It just feels like that'll always be a Holy Paladin. Like, it just feels that way. Like, I think Holy Paladin has been... Okay, here's a fun topic. When was the last time a mythic end boss was killed without a Holy Paladin in the comp? When was the last time? I mean, it's been... Wait. Eternal Palace? Eternal Palace was double disc something. Oh, that was a 2 heal? Yeah, I guess Eternal Palace. Yeah. And then when before that though, right? You're talking like one boss every like 5 years or something. Like, it just seems like Holy Paladins, due to the way healing is done, always like fill a role that you need. I guess. Not to mention that if you're bringing any paladin, like, the healer version just brings a raid cooldown with Devo where the other ones don't. But that's not really an argument, because you could bring a rep paladin and then just bring another healer with a cooldown, right? Like, what's the difference between Aura Mastery and Spirit Link? I mean, obviously they're two different abilities and do different things, but like, you know, you're not losing or gaining a raid cooldown by doing that, what I just said. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's gonna be harder for rets and prop paladins to get a guaranteed raid spot with only one paladin buff. So I guess you just have to be like the rest of the game, where everyone else only has one raid buff for their class, and it can also be any of the other specs. What is it? Max, raid buffs have to be good. No more 5 mages, 6 locks on end bosses like in BFA. Yeah, I mean, that I'm not super opposed to raid buffs. Like, I'll explain to you my thinking on it. Like, for me, as raid leader strategyman, it would be fun for me to, like, when you're competing against another guild like Echo, right? It's not just how you execute on the fight and how, like, what kind of strats you come up with, what kind of class, like, whatever. Like, there hasn't been like a class difference in a while, because we just run the same comp, because I don't know, when 15 of your spots are already predetermined, you usually end up coming up with the same 5. But with no raid buffs, if you could actually just have a blank canvas, we would have totally different comps for different reasons that probably benefited our strat in the fight or benefited our specific players in the guild, and lend it more towards their strengths. And that would be like really interesting. This is not for anyone else. This is purely personal for me. Like, that would be really fun for me. So that's what makes me want raid buffs gone. But I think that for the majority of people in the game, I think raid buffs in raiding, not in dungeons, very important that you understand this is a raid only take. I think in raids, raid buffs are good. I think starting a mythic raid with 20 and then just wanting one of every spec for almost every guild in the world is a good thing, and it is inclusive to all the classes in the game. I think that is a positive thing, because if it wasn't that, it would just be like stacking up. Like, we could bring 8 mages, but if they're tuning bosses for us and then like we're running 8 mages and you can't do that, and then it's just weird. Like I feel like it just is better for pretty much everything in raiding. That being said, raid buffs are clearly an issue in dungeons, but I see that as like a completely separate version of the issue. As far as giving that take, I don't really know how you'd solve that. I'm sure everyone could cook up some bong cloud solution to that, but yeah, I don't know. What is it? Max is too busy to play me in ping pong. In parentheses, I've been challenging him for months. Back to the training grounds. See you. Dude, you've been doing this bit for years. Why, what is this bit? Okay, guys, help me understand this fucking bit. Okay? I'm going to show, it's been for years. Years. Let me go back to when. Okay, all we have is at the end of last year. Hey, Max, still waiting for our ping pong match if you want to catch these hands. Hey, Max, me again. Want to catch these hands in a game of ping pong or what? Come get this work. Pretty much balls of fury. Nano ping pong racket. This boss would destroy me in ping pong. That boss is King Ping Pong. Fucking New Year's resolution. Win all of my ping pong games. He said this on New Year's. Another New Year's resolution. Giving Max the work in a game of ping pong. This has been happening. This chat history only goes back through here. He has been doing this for years. Fucking Today he hits with this. The previous thing, stay bad at ping pong. Fucking Max, catch these hands in a game of ping pong. You want some in ping pong, big man? Dude, why? What made you commit to this bit of all bits to do? Like, why specifically that? I've never talked about ping pong ever. Play him then. How? How can I play him in ping pong? I don't know who he is. Maybe he doesn't live near here. I'll play him in ping pong, bro. If you ever get near me, I'll play you in ping pong. We have a ping pong table at the TL facility. Pull up, pussy. Now who's dodging who, huh? Stay small. Get out. He's probably terrible at it too. Yeah, like what's more likely? That he's actually sick at ping pong and wants to demolish me in it, or if he's never played ping pong ever and just decided to do that bit one day and then just has kept doing it. I think it's the second one. Speaking of small, do you have YouTube chat this stream? I do. It's right here. It's only, guys, like only like 2 or 3 times have I forgotten to pull up YouTube chat. I'll explain why. Okay, so here's my 2 chats I have popped out right on the left of my monitor. Okay, when I leave these here forever. When I turn my stream off, I don't like close them. When I turn my stream on again the next day, the Twitch one refreshes. The Twitch one will just continue to my next stream. The YouTube one, YouTube treats streams like they're events. So like when I start a new YouTube stream, this chat will have only existed for my previous one. So it stays here and it just doesn't move, but it looks full. So I'll just start a new YouTube stream, and if I don't forget to pop out the new chat, sometimes I forget. But it's only happened a couple times. I've been getting better at it. Yeah. Yeah. They just honk anyway. Max, if you are playing a class in spec that is really bad right now, do you think it's too late for changes? Getting worried we are basically past the changes part and we'll only see tuning knobs. Yeah, so if you're talking about like your class design-wise being stinky, I think you are going, at this point, it is very likely you are going to be stuck for that for the first patch of this expansion. I'm pretty sure. And I know there's a few specs that have been really upset about that. I know Demon Hunters are really upset, and I actually feel that because, like, I wanted to play Havoc, but, like, Havoc on beta is just straight up less fun for me than it is on live right now, which is crazy. Like, I don't know how they fix that, but that seems bad. Rogues, I know, are, like, all of their hero talents are unbelievably bad. I'm not sure about the design element of them, but I know their hero talents stink. But a lot of people, when they're saying they don't like their class, they, even though they don't realize it, they are referring to tuning. And I think there's, I don't even think it's close to being tuned right now. So, I wouldn't worry about that. But if your design is bad, that's unfortunate because you're probably going to have something very, very close to that. Max, what do you think you're going to main in the War Within? I'm going to play Windwalker as my main guy for sure. Actually, no, let's say this. My, like, main, I definitely am going to play Windwalker and Ret. Whichever one I play first and whichever one I focus on more, I'm just going to keep it a buck. Is just going to be whichever one of those two is better. Like, if Monk is better than Ret, I'll play Monk. If Ret's better than Monk. Because, like, playing both of those classes is really, really fun to me. But you know what else is fun? Doing fucking enormous damage. And it's just a little bit less fun to do not enormous damage. So, I'll probably, if I had to choose between those, it would just be whichever one is doing more of that. Like, I don't know. If I'm playing a class with the best gameplay of all time, but I'm getting beat by some dumbass, like, fucking mage or something, like, I don't know. I'm probably not having as much fun as if I was putting that mage in the ground. So, I would rather, I don't know, just doing I don't know how much percentage of the fun it is, but it's part of it for sure. I think you're lying if you're saying it's not. Max, what if Hammer Guy's bad but Sunburn one is good? I don't know. I'd probably still play it. Max, just take some middling mage spell and put it on details blacklist so you never see them gap you again. Wait, just lie on stream? Just like do some fucking details hacking so any mage I ever play with looks like they suck. That would go crazy. Dude, Ellie Shaman have to be so happy. I heard that Ellie's like really fun to play on beta right now. Is that true? Like Ellie after the changes? Like what about it is fun? Is it fun gameplay or is it fun because like you have a lot of options? Is it fun because like you actually can mix builds now? Like what's the fun? Where's the fun at? It's fun because they do damage. So it's not fun or it's not actually fun to play? Max, do you think in the next couple of weeks you can cook a stream and invite people to talk about their class? Yeah, I did that a lot going into Dragonflight. I don't know what it is, but I just kind of don't want to do that. Like, if I want to do that, I will. Like, in Dragonflight, I felt like it had to be done. There was, like, too many things changing, and, like, I genuinely wanted to know how people felt about their trees. And then also, it was a good way to give Blizzard some feedback. And it just feels like hero talents are like way less important than the class and spec tree talents were. So I just don't feel like I don't want to do that for, you know how much work that is to do that for every single class and spec in the game? That's like a fucking insane undertaking, right? They would be like what I do every day, and I don't really want to do that. I'll probably do some like truncated ones. Like if I'll do anything, it'll be like expansions coming out. Let's do one big stream where I invite someone to talk about their class for 10 minutes from every spec, and then we just do like some 3 or 4 hour bang, and then that's all of it. But I don't want to do like 3 or 4 hours on each spec. There's no fucking way. Would have to have a conclave at this point to cover it all. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure this content is being made without me. Like, last time I checked, like, there are people who, like, it's either a podcast or just, like, a video that'll be made, and it's just, like, a few warlocks talking or, like, a few mages talking or a few healers. Like, I think this stuff gets done, you know? What is it? Yeah, but I trust you more than anyone else. Well, that's your first mistake. I mean, you just fucked up there. I'd fuck you up in ping pong, by the way. Scorching hot take. Beta and PTR becoming a content cycle has made for a worse product. Beta / PTR becoming a content cycle has made for a worse product. What does that mean? So, like, people covering beta and PTR for the purposes of content has made the expansion worse? Is that is that basically what you're saying? I'm trying to think about that. Because, I mean, obviously, maybe you're right. What does that mean, though? Like, so let's just say beta were to happen, but no content creators were to care about it, and people would just play it sometimes, but it wouldn't be discussed at length. You think that would make a better product? I'll give you... Okay, so maybe you're right, but let me play the other side of it. You guys remember how they announced no Mythic Plus changes, but then every person who covered this game for content could not stop talking about how affixes needed to change, and then they had an interview where they backed up some of the changes they made and everyone disagreed with it, and then the very next week they did literally everything that we suggested, where they did the Kiss Curse positive affixes thing with a different idea for high keys for the first time ever. That was a direct result of this content cycle thing. So at least for Mythic Plus so far, it seems like it being covered. And I can't think of like a class design or raid equivalent. I doubt class design has anything to do with content creation. Wait, maybe that person's a rep paladin. Because I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I actually think... I don't think a lot of the stuff in this game, or really anything, has changed because of me. But I think the podcast, or maybe me specifically, is the only reason that Red Aura is gone. Because when we were making the argument for shamans... When we were making the arguments for shamans to get their raid buffs, I went on this really long rant on a video, which I know Ian watches. He's talked to me about that and has mentioned it on stuff. And I was like, how can you possibly say this, Ian, in your interview answer when you're saying that, like, oh, we don't want to add too many raid buffs, but you have 2 for paladin and none for shaman? And it was like, I was like heated and everything. And then a week later, shamans get a raid buff, where even if I were to try to take credit for that, which I wouldn't because that's just like an insane thing. Everyone's been saying that for a long time. But then like they also deliberately removed Red Aura at the same time, which was like my entire basis of my argument. So I might have had something to do with that. But also if it ever I'm just going to deny that if anyone gets mad at me though. You know? Remember when you killed... Guys, I didn't kill AMZ. Ian admitted it. Come on. Come on, guys. This is old shit. Let's just... You know what, guys? Let's just get over it. You know what? We're fucking launching. Let's go. Wait. It's not working. Oh, that's because it got unplugged. Oh, no. Delayed launch. Delayed launch. Dude, where are they? Oh, okay. We got... Wait, nope. Dude, fucking plug in. Oh, it plugged in. Blasting off, boys. Let's go. Stay baby. Here we go. We're here. With the OG shirt on. Stay beneath me. What is it? Can you kill Caster H-Pound next? No. I don't kill anything or make anything live. I am just me. I've never done that. Max, I mean, the thing is evokers don't even need a raid buff. Like right now, for example, if you were to remove... What is evoker's raid buff even called? Like the thing that gives you a reduction on your movement skills. Does anyone know? Blessing of the Bronze. I think that's what it's called. If they were to remove that from the game entirely, it would never affect your decision to bring an evoker or not bring an evoker ever. It is pretty much irrelevant. So maybe that's your argument. Should they rework Blessing of the Bronze so it matters? I mean, I don't know. Blizzard always makes the argument themselves. You don't need every class to have a raid buff. It's a boring solution. You can have other reasons that make you want to bring one of every class. So like DK is the example of that, which is pretty much true, right? That's what they're doing with evokers too. So like, do they even need a hour-long raid buff? Is Dratnos in Dratnos' guild's team? No, he's a caster. That's just someone from Dratnos' I'm pretty sure that's just a bit because people refer to Pop-Tart Corndog as Dratnos' guild because he's an international celebrity. Max, if they did, wouldn't you think Dev would have a chance over Aug? No. Because Aug would just have that. So here's the problem with Devastation in a raid group right now. So Aug, in its current form... Actually, I'm not positive about this currently on beta. We haven't done a lot of damage testing for the War Within yet, because why would you? Everything doesn't make sense. Like, it's all broken and made up. But the last time we tested this before Mirdersil, a Aug Evoker is something like 20 or 30% more DPS than whatever the best class you're bringing is. At least up to your first two of them, if played properly. Which is really annoying to do, but it's possible. That just means they're the best thing you can bring. So no matter what class is the best, they will most likely be anywhere from 20 to 30% stronger than that. That you're always going to bring that. It has nothing to do with Devastation or any other class, but the first Devastation you bring will be after you bring two of those, which, you know what I mean? So Max, off-topic random question. Do you know how many devs / who all worked on Shadowlands Season 4? Shadowlands or Dragonflight? In Dragonflight, I have no clue. In Shadowlands, I'm fairly certain it was a extremely small amount of people. Like 2 to 3 did the bulk of it. As far as like art assets and stuff like that, I'm not sure. But as far as like people actually coming up with it and designing it, it was like less than 5 people. Extremely small. I have no idea in Dragonflight. Is that assuming your other DPS players' raiders are rank 1 DPSing? Yes. That was a testing environment done in our guild with our players playing what we thought the best comp was and doing tests between a 2-AUG comp, a 1-AUG comp, a 4-AUG comp versus 0 AUGs and replacing them with not just any DPS, but literally the best DPS in the game as the testing environment. And those were the numbers we got. So it's just, whether it's like rank 1 or whatever tuning cycle it was just whatever our players were doing, trying their hardest on a X amount of minute dummy test with lust and all raid buffs and everything, running a proper comp and then swapping in the total amount of AUGs. And also, importantly, running a extremely optimized buffing pattern that was always buffing the best classes based on that current tuning. So we were doing it at its absolute potential, which is maybe not relatable to a ton of guilds, but that doesn't matter to us. It's only relatable to what we would run. But yeah, that's what we did. Max, how much time goes into prep for Race World First during this early phase? A lot. Imagine the uproar if logs would show that and the hooks weren't completely broken. Yep, it's been many months now. Almost a man. When was 9.1.5? No, that's when AUG came out, right? It was 9.1.10. Are we in 10? It's 10. Dragonflight's 10, right? 10.1.7. That patch. Log hooks have been broken since then. Which I think has been... I don't know if it's been a year, but it's been a long time. One day from a year. Oh, Relamy, what's up? Yo, guys, if you need any beta add-ons, by the way, that guy will give you his whole folder. They all work, too. Max, have you done a tier list for the War Within? No. No one can do any tier list content right now that isn't a meme, because everything is just total nonsense. Like, no one knows... Anyone who's saying they know what's going to be good in the expansion is just completely fucking making it up. And even then, we've never done tier lists on this channel, ever, where we are objectively ranking classes based on power and, like, what's going to be good or not. We've never done that, ever. But as far as doing an actual tier list thing, which we normally do near the beginning of a patch, which is just an excuse to have people come on and talk about their classes, we will probably do that, but it's not happening anytime soon. Are you standing up fully tented? No shot, bro. I'm not even kind of bricked. I only get bricked when it really matters. Extremely efficient bricking. I thought you were bricked 24/7. Only when I need to be. Oh, dude, I noticed that happening. I noticed on Twitter, people were... I don't even know how to describe this, but they weren't complaining about tier lists. They were complaining about people complaining about tier lists, I think, is what I was witnessing when I was on vacation. What prompted that? Are there people that are like unironically being like, here's the tier list for the new expansion? Is that happening? Like, are people doing that? Dude, even if people were doing that, that kind of hits me with a big, like, who cares moment. Like, who fucking cares? I guess maybe who cares are, like, people who are on the lower end of that list and really care about their power. They, like, freak out, and then it ends up in, like, discussion channels and guilds, and then people are like, oh, well, I have to change mains, and then, like, and then people are like, no, you don't, tier lists are stupid. And is that it? Is it just, like, that conversation played out over and over again? On a meta level, it is kind of stupid to hate tier lists. Dude, you know what we came to the realization of recently? While playing Terra's Land, actually, but this is purely like a WoW take that we learned from Terra's Land. Bro, WoW would be so much more fun if there weren't Sims. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. On Terra's Land for the past couple weeks, like 10 people in our guild have played that game super hard, and there's no Sims in that game, and more importantly, none of the stats make any sense. And no one knows what the fuck is going on. No one knows what the best emblems are, which are... I don't even know how to relate what those would be. But, like, no one knows what the best talents are. No one knows what the best stats on your gear is. It's all made up. No one knows anything. And in a way, it's kind of refreshing. Because you're constantly trying different things and swapping stuff and, like, experimenting. And that process is actually really fun. But in WoW, you never really do that. And in a way, it makes all the spec trees really boring because, like, no one actually thinks about what you play or tries different things. You just, like, have a robot or some content creator who used a robot tell you what the most efficient thing is for doing damage, and then you just do that, and you only do that. And it's kind of lame. Like, it would just be way more fun without it. And I'd never thought about that before until I actually experienced it in Terra's Land, and it's actually 10 times more fun to just have no idea what's going on. Anyways, just random. I don't know if he really changed anything with WoW when it comes to that, but just a thought. Max, but imagine for the Race World first, they found something. Who's they? Echo? They found something completely broken and you lost because of that. Wouldn't that be bad? No, honestly, I think that would add a different level of skill. Like if that's how the game was, where like everything wasn't figured out by a robot and it was kind of on you and your players to figure out what the best talents were, that's just another way you can outplay someone, right? You wouldn't feel bad if someone else just did a better job of researching their class and actually figuring out what you're supposed to do. I feel like that would be really cool, actually. That would be like hella cool. That'd be like make it way more interesting, actually, because like you'd like, let's say you're a warlock, you'd be like, oh, what's Zerwo doing and what's THD doing? Oh, they're doing this. I wonder why they're doing this. And this guild's doing this. I wonder why. You don't do that now because everyone just does the same thing because everyone knows what the best talents are, right? It's just, it'd be more fun. But would you stream such an advantage? I mean, streaming the Race World First is a huge disadvantage. If any Race World First happened and either Echo didn't stream or we didn't stream, the team that didn't stream would shit on the other guild. Like, streaming is a massive disadvantage. It only works because both of us do it, in a way. Well, I guess until we turn our streams off on, like, certain bosses and shit. But, like, even most of the time, you're still going to wake up the next day and stream again and show everything you learned in the meantime. Like, not streaming is super broken, but we both do it. But that's true with that idea and also just right now, right? Why do you think no one streams in other games? Because it's a massive, massive, massive loss. If you care about winning, like, it's not as simple as, like, oh, well, you can just stream. Like, yeah, you have less of a chance to win, but look at all this money. But there is no money in those other games. You'd have to... The only reason there was ever money in WoW is because, like, it was done on a leap of faith, and then, like, everything came after. But that requires a lot of patience And honestly, it's a fucking anomaly that the race world first is what it is in WoW. Like, if you were to just see 100 alternate realities where Method streams the first race world first in Oldir, I think there's probably like less than 3 of them where it still ends up being streamed to this day and becomes this thing. It's extreme. I can't believe it actually ended up being the way it is. What is it? What makes it so you can't sim in Tar Island? Couldn't a website just, do that? Probably, but no one knows what they're doing. But also, the translation in this game makes no sense. Like, for example, we didn't know raid buffs in that game, like personal buffs you bring, even stack, because it says buffs of similar effects don't stack. But that's just fucking not true. Like, we found that out yesterday. I'll link you. Oh, man, I would need, like, THD to link it to me and give me a picture, but like just some of the descriptions in the game are just absolute nonsense and make no sense. Do 1 second. I'm gonna have THD link me this. I need to have THD link me this. 1 second. THD, link me the mage talent, and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's this stuff in this game is just fucking nonsense. Max, can you promote active class balancing during the Race World First and Hall of Fame? I hate seeing clearly busted classes ruining the balance for so long. What are you asking me to do? Like, stop in the middle of progression and just be like, all right, guys, here's the state of balance. Like, no, we're going to do the raid. And I mean, I guess we do kind of do that. Plus, to be honest with you, I don't think balance in raid for the last couple of raids has been bad. Like, okay, AUG is its own thing. Right, so just, I guess, forget about AUG for a second if you can do that. I wouldn't make the argument that, like, balance is super shit. I think most things in WoW rating have been surprisingly really, really, really well-tuned in Dragonflight. Surprisingly. I know Mythic Plus is not like that, but it is really, really tuned in rating. AUG mentioned, and now I'm mad. Look at that. And I wasn't mad the whole day. Okay, here we go. So this is a talent in this game, and KSP is playing Fire Mage for us. And he said, we asked him what this means, and he said, honestly, I have no idea what it means, but I've been running it the whole time, and I think it's good. During one single battle, if the odd number of times of explosion caused by heat bomb results to a heat with an odd number, the damage is increased by 5% additionally. This also applies to even number of times. What does that fucking mean? Right? Because it says it happens when you do it an odd number of times, but also with even. So just fucking, it works all the time? Then why did you write all of that? Right? This is like this is the average tooltip in this game. Nothing makes sense in this game, but in a way, that makes it fun because no one knows what's good, so it makes you experiment with a bunch of different talents because they have horrible translation. Like, the game is so bad that it's good. You were so confused when you read this as well? Yeah, it's because it's objectively confusing. But how the fuck do you control that? You don't. There's also... Dude, okay. I'm not going to, like, bore you all with Terrasland shit, but there's a bunch of examples of things saying they do stuff in tooltips, and it's just false. Like, it just doesn't... It's not true. Like, the opposite could be true. Like, it just makes no sense. There's a stat in this game called focus, and putting points into focus in your inscribed stone, what it does is it reduces your target's defense that you're attacking. How much defense do the mobs have? No one knows. How much damage do you gain by reducing their defense? Impossible to know. You could not possibly... There's no way to test it. You just fucking... Maybe you get some of that stat and it's good. Maybe... I don't know. Like, you just fucking figure it out. It's just... everything in the fight makes no sense. Or everything in the game makes no sense. Guys, you're trying to explain the talent to me. You're not understanding the point. I feel like you're missing the point. But that's okay. I miss the point sometimes too. All good. All right. Anyways, I kind of want to at least briefly go over the last few dev notes, just to spark something, maybe. Feel a spark, feel alive. Oh, maybe we could look at the raid testing. I mean, basically what we looked at on Mythic or on Heroic so far for these fights kind of covers Mythic for these two. I think the two bosses tomorrow in Mythic are way more interesting. So maybe I'll just do like a Friday stream or something where I go over all of them. That kind of sounds better to me. There is one good news though. Do you guys remember on Brood Twister when I told you where like the 8 people have to intersect on the 4 things and like you have 8 seconds to figure out and it's a private aura? Good news. At the beginning of this week, they actually, for the first time, I believe, ever, removed a private aura from a mechanic. They took a mechanic that was going to be a really annoying private aura. They got feedback that that would be super annoying and you'd have to press a macro for it, and they actually removed it. So it is just you can just use a regular weak aura for it now. But I have really nothing else to say about that. Okay, so we're within development notes. When was the last one I looked at? This is going to be so funny. I bet there's going to be almost no information. It's just tuning. Okay. Okay, so I missed this one. This was at 5:10 yesterday. Let's go to the previous one. This was 8 days ago. This came out after I last streamed WoW. I last streamed WoW 9 days ago on a Monday, and this came out after I stopped streaming WoW. So I haven't even seen these either. But I don't think there's a lot to look at. So it's like some little bit of tuning and just like design changes for some hero talents. Made Pillar of Frost stronger, made Enduring Strength stronger. I know they additionally removed the like strength thing of Pillar of Frost. Unholy tuning. Druid hero talent tuning. Balance. Okay, they're finally looking at balance. Balance before last build was like super ass. I think it's also maybe still super ass. More hunter changes. Let's go. Hero talents. Oh, here we go. Red aura has been removed. As part of our process of examining raid buffs, we've come to the decision to remove Red Aura in order to reduce restrictions on group comps. We believe that the utility options additional paladins are able to bring is sufficiently valuable without becoming oppressive. So let's bring out the handy dandy sheet. Let's bring out our sheet here, which goes over the raid buffs in between expansions. I don't remember what it's called. Oh, it's called No. I changed it to No at the beginning of some stream. This is kind of bright, by the way. I'll just make it small so it's less bright, I guess. Here. Okay, so. Oh, no, I need to make it a little bigger. All right. Here we go. So, BFA, we had 8 raid buff spots. Well, raid buff in quotes. In Shadowlands, we had 9. They added Enhance. And then in Dragonflight, they added a ton. Second Paladin, first Rogue, 2 Augs, 1 Hunter, and 1 Druid. So they added a ton in Dragonflight. And the War Within is actually less, if I'm right. So they removed Second Paladin. They turned Enhance into just all Shaman. And I think I'm not missing anything else. So I guess instead of there being 5 raid spots to pick from now, there'll be 6. That's fucking hype. Woo! Only main problem with this is DK, not necessarily true, but like just as I put Enhance here, you could make the argument that it's blood, right? Like I think if you need DK for a fight, unless DPS DK is super overtuned, but in that case, every one of these spots is fighting for overtuned DPS spots, so you just don't even have to think about it. Like, if you really need a DK, you're just so much more likely to bring blood. I don't understand why DPS DK, maybe it's a PvP thing, why DPS DK does not have mass grip, and why DPS DK's grip is on a longer cooldown than blood. I don't get it. I don't understand why their AMZ is worth either. None of those things make sense to me, but blood is like a super common raid tank anyway, right? Because like this isn't exactly how this plays out. Like, isn't it a little bit more nuanced? So like, let's just say, how do comps normally work out? Like, what classes do you just kind of always see in raid, right? So like these kind of work out a little differently. So like historically, you usually see like DK tank prop paladin. That's like really common. Or no, let's leave out prop paladin because you usually always see a healer paladin and you almost always see a healer priest. This is just historically, this is not for next tier. This is just like H-Pal is just in every comp ever, right? Usually there's like a, and then like for DPS going all the way down to 20. Actually, wait, wouldn't this be, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it would actually be 7 through 20 down here. It's like you don't really have, oh, that's gonna be annoying. Let's make, I mean, we can just have this be the, we can just do this so it's less annoying. So what does this actually look like, right? You literally never bring a tank warrior, so it's like always warrior DPS. It's almost always DH DPS, although there are some scenarios where you play Vengeance Demon Hunter. But like you have to look at where your spots actually are. Monk is interesting. Monk has been like a healer recently, but we'll leave that up in the air for now. It's always been DPS Shaman, but like maybe that's a healer Shaman going forward, right? Like Ancestral Vigor is really strong. So maybe you just throw that in there. So you like throw in Shamans. I don't even know if that's a DPS Shaman spot unless they're really good. You always use Rogue, obviously. You always use 2 Augs. Hunter and Druid are almost always arranged. Can you use 2 Augs under that? Always throw Mage and Warlock here. These are all DPS specs. Okay. So then you have your remaining spots, except the only one we haven't added here is Monk. It's kind of flip-flopped through WoW's history of your Monk buff being like Brewmaster, Mistweaver, or Windwalker. I think with like pretty even representation in the last 2 expansions. So that can kind of go wherever. But like last expansion, it was like you ran Prop Paladin a lot, but you also needed 2 debuffs, right? So like maybe you choose to bring your second tank of like whatever the weakest melee raid buff is. Maybe you don't want to bring a DPS warrior, so you bring a tank warrior or something. But then like this 6th spot could be Mistweaver, and then you're just like healers are just, usually healers are important enough. Usually healing is so hard that like you don't want to just have all of your healers be raid buff bots. You kind of just want to bring whatever the best healers are and maybe figure it out somewhere else. Yeah, not needing a second paladin makes this a lot better. So what are we even missing here? It's like Monk somewhere. Let's say Monk is, I mean, Monk could literally just be all 3. It has historically been all 3. So like basically you just need to fit a Monk in here. And is that it? And then you get the rest of these spots. I mean, I think this is true of Shaman too. I don't think putting a Shaman in as a healer as a default. So it's like, find a spot for Monk and Shaman. It seems like, not necessarily saying this is true, it seems like this, it seems like you always play Paladin and Priest. It seems like you always end up bringing a Blood DK. So then it's just like, where do you put the rest of these 2 things? And then you just have a couple spots. So if you're a DPS DK, if you're a Dev Evoker, right? If you are a, whatever the not best spec of Druid is, if you're a Shadow Priest, by default, if you're a Ret Paladin, like you are kind of fighting for these last couple spots. That's not necessarily, I mean, you could definitely like, DPS DK is pretty historically like in the raid, but what is it? Red is now on the same footing as every other DPS that's competing for a tuning spot. I mean, that should, it like think of it like this, like where is it? Like Red should be just as likely to get a raid spot as like a Moonkin, right? You need 1 Druid, just like you need 1 Paladin. It just seems like Moonkin is what you bring every time, and it seems like Holy Paladin's what you bring every time. Even though I guess you could just bring Ret, right? And not bring a Holy Paladin, but I don't know. Just seems like every raid you bring one. So I don't know. It looks a little bit better than the outlook, at least in Dragonflight, because like what it used to be was like you just put Enhance here, and at least for the last expansion you put Monk here. This is what it looked like for a while. And then it was just like, okay, you can pick one healer, you can pick one tank. And then last expansion, one tank was super simple. You just always played Paladin because of Red Aura. So at least you can like pick your other tank role now. What could Blizz do to make second AUG not feel mandatory? I think to make second AUG not mandatory, to make AUG in general not mandatory, you would just have to randomize your DPS buffs. Like, the problem with AUG is when played properly, you can buff exactly the 4 people who are doing the most damage in that Ebb and Might window. Which is not only really difficult to do, it's really annoying, it's not fun, and it's unrelatable to how most people play AUG. So I think the only way you can make AUG not there and mandatory is if, like, you just made it so you couldn't choose who had the buff and it was, like, purely random for DPS. And then it would probably average out. It would be super RNG, actually, if that was the case. But it may just be annoying that it's RNG and you'd choose to bring something else. Unfortunately, like, let's just say AUG's out of the game. A lot of people would be like, well, then you just bring a Prez Evoker. I still think Prez is, like, something you can't commit to for a whole raid. I'll be proven wrong about this one day, maybe. But Prez isn't something you can commit to for a whole raid because having 30-yard range on some encounters it's unplayable. Like, even if it does the most healing in the game, like, it's going to be unplayable. Or it's going to be significantly worse than something else when you can't heal outside of 30 yards on certain bosses. There's some bosses where you can accommodate for that. There's some bosses where you're stacked up. You can even make the argument that, hey, well, they're going to be so good within 30 yards that sometimes it's okay that they're not out of range. But then they're just going to be the best healer on every other fight, except for the ones they're not able to. I don't know. I think the preservation being 30 yards is a huge mistake, is my only take, really. Rogue main is sad. Why? You have a little raid spot, little buddy. Or are you talking about how your class design is really bad? You can't. That's pretty bad, yeah. And then they did all the shaman changes. Wahoo. And then Enhancement didn't get any. Okay, Enhancement did actually get some good ones. So, Feral Lunge being baseline is a huge W. But, yeah, I mean, that's a huge dub. That's actually, like, way better. Like, having more movement like that is super, super good. But, I think most Enhance are really sad because they don't have great hero talents right now. It seems obvious that they're not going to get any design changes until the first patch. So, yeah, there's like a few specs in the game that still feel like they have old trees. Enhancement's like one of a few that has a bunch of 2-pointers still. That being said, Enhance's core gameplay loop, not outside of hero talents, is still really good. But the hero talents are like a big problem. So I think if you want to, like, I would still play Enhance. Like, Enhance is still fun to play. Like, it doesn't feel like Demon Hunter to me, where Demon Hunter just feels like way worse. But I think Enhancements are definitely going to be looking forward to the first patch. Max Kalani made the first tier list of the season. The new X pack is getting close. Hearing him speak about Enhance is so funny. Shaman got a rework, but they didn't do anything for Enhance. Why did you type all that? What do you... No, you didn't say anything right there. Okay, Warlock stuff, Warrior stuff, PP stuff. All right, what got announced yesterday? Tuning. Didn't they do some big, like, dev note saying they've changed healer stuff? Nerfed percent healing for all classes. Dog spazzing out. Oh, is she dreaming? Oh, she just stopped. Look at that. She was just running in her sleep. Okay, some general changes. Little devastation talent swap spot. Oop, my timer went off. Time to drink water. Let's go. Hunter tankiness nerfed. Dude, that doesn't even matter, though. Hunters are brick walls, man. Wait, you have a timer for water drinking? Yeah, especially when I have a hockey game later, I need to drink enough water throughout the day, or else I'm like a little bit lower on energy when I have those games, I feel. And if I don't set a timer to remind me to drink water, I just won't. I just won't do it because I'm stupid. Actually, to be honest with you, setting timers on my watch to remember to eat and drink throughout the day, I have been extremely clutch. It's been like the only way I've figured out how to solve that. Okay, so this is just more of that percent health. I mean, this stuff doesn't matter. I mean, nerfing personal healing from everyone, little talents like this is definitely good. It'll make regular healing feel better and solve some of the problem. I think most people are just aware by now, though, that the big bulk of the healing and damage intake problem in this game is due to the amount and the potency of defensives. And until they do a big pruning on that, it's going to be pretty similar to what you see in Dragonflight. That being said, they did say in a recent interview that, like, they are aware of the problem and, like, they're not going to do it before the expansion, but, like, they are looking at what it's going to look like to do a big pruning of defensives, which is pretty cool. Oh, Life Cocoon absorb amount reduced by 40%. That is a significant nerf. I don't know if it was doing like a bunch extra on beta or something, but I remember when Life Cocoon used to be completely useless, and then I remember them buffing it to be like actually pretty fucking good. Because like you have to think about what Life Cocoon has to compete against. You're competing against 1 minute Hand of Sacrifice. So Life Cocoon kind of has to be real bigly or else it sucks. So I don't know about that. Okay, Paladin stuff, Ret stuff, priest stuff, rogue stuff, and a bunch of hero talent changes for Shaman and Warlock. Same with Arms and Fury, and then PvP stuff. Do they do any UI stuff? Man, every time they do one of these changes, I just browse down to the UI and accessibility thing, and I just wait for them to announce that they've reworked base nameplates or they've reworked base buff and debuff management. Holy moly, would that be good. Oh, man. Oh. Okay. Cope? I mean, I'm not coping. I don't think they'll do it. I just look and see if it's there every time. Unless that's an expansion level feature. That's what's about to come out. Like that's what these notes are for. What do you what? What do you think? What do you think's coming out in a couple months? Okay, let's see. Wait, but by the way, how long is it going to be until the expansion comes out? Is it 6 weeks? Holy shit. Less than 6 weeks. Dude, it does not feel that way, right? I think the only reason that makes it not feel that way is purely the tuning. Like, the tuning in this game, I feel pretty... Okay, I'm making this up, but I feel pretty confident in making up that the tuning has never been this completely nonsensical and not done yet 6 weeks before an expansion comes out. Definitely not true in Dragonflight, but I'm kind of making it up because I don't know... Like, I don't remember how bad tuning was going into, like, Legion, for example. Max, how would the vibes around tuning feel for the War Within if hero talents didn't exist or were purely cosmetic? I don't know. How the fuck would I know that? Do you want me to say that it would be easier for them to tune the game if hero talents didn't exist? I mean, the answer to that is obviously yes. I mean, if that's the answer you're looking for, I can just say yes. But I mean, a fucking newborn baby could have answered that, right? Let's see, Max, what are tonight's lottery numbers? I'll make it up. I'll be right, too. Dude, any of you guys ever win the lottery? What a stupid question. There's no way any of you guys have won the lottery. You wouldn't be here right now. You'd be drinking martinis on a boat. Max, will England or Spain win the Euros final on Sunday? Spain. Vamos. I say that with zero knowledge about either team. Max, how do you think this heat wave will impact women's rights? Are we in a heat wave right now? I don't even know how I look at that. How do I... Do I just Google heat wave? It's hot as shit. It's chill out here. It's like 70 degrees. I'm feeling great. Google, why is it hot? No, I can't do that. I'll be on a list or something for being an idiot. Total idiot. All right, shit. What else is there to do today? What else do you guys want to yap about? What else did I miss since I went on vacation? It's been a week of WoW streams. Has there been anything? Has there been... I know this is like the most dead time in WoW ever, at least for like actually right now. I think even in the next couple weeks, it'll kind of pick up a lot. Has there been like an interview? Oh, I mean... Well, it does say that right there. That doesn't sound like something that I would care about. Quasi... I keep saying his name like he's a genie. Quasi WoW Grandma interview went hard. Oh, dude, that would be cool. I think that's probably an off-stream listen. Max, have you done a react stream yet to the Potty C that you missed? Nah. I'm recording a Potty C later today, right after I end this stream, actually. Max... There was a Potty C without you, and you also released 2 draft videos. One of them you threw a tantrum. I was so mad after the raid one. We still haven't done a draft one since. She said a lot about you. Wait, she talked about me? That's so sweet. That is so sweet. What is your take on Frosty K versus Ret versus the Warthen in general? I don't know. They're both melee. I know that. Max, can you get Cloudy back? I missed him. He was typing in my stream in my Discord today, and I accidentally went live today with the wrong title. It was my last title from before I went on vacation 5 days ago, and it was Terrace Land. And he literally typed right as soon as I went live, and before I changed the title, he typed Terrace Land in my stream Discord, and then he just typed like a leave emote. So he just didn't even know I was streaming WoW today. He just missed the whole thing because I didn't change the title, which is kind of him getting owned, honestly. Bro Cloudy is driven mad by the lack of DH changes. Yeah, I heard he made multiple Spotify playlists about how bad Demon Hunter changes are, which I don't even know how to... Let me see if I can find one of them. I remember reading it. It was in my Discord. That's the most DH shit ever? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Damn it. Where is this? Dude, how much do you guys type in here, man? Y'all are popping the fuck off. This is just since July 4th. I've been non-stop scrolling. Dude, y'all are just yapping. YouTube must be the right-wing side of the family Max doesn't talk to you. What are you guys talking about? I've been reading your stuff all stream. Dude, YouTube's never happy. I read their stuff, they're mad. I don't read their stuff, they're mad. They're just always mad. Just don't be mad, man. I pinged the comment for you. Oh, shit. In the channel? Okay, thank you. Here we go. This is what Cloudy made. He made this. POV, you're the Demon Hunter class dev. Arrive at the office, do nothing day, lunchtime, you haven't done nothing, go home. That's so fucking... That is the most Demon Hunter shit I've ever heard, that you took your time to do this. That is fucking insane. All right, I'm powering down. I'm going big. You guys are staying small. See you later. Stay beneath me, by the way. You're down there. I'm up here. All right, let's go. Oh, we're good. Guys, I'm not bricked. I told you, I'm only bricked when I need to be. Max, since you're friends with John Blizzard, can you confirm if they did away with class devs and now everyone works on all the classes? That's how it's always been. I think, from my interpretation of it, the class developers do have certain classes they like focus on each kind of, but it's very collaborative. Like I don't think there's like... Also, I think understanding class devs is probably also just understanding how Blizzard people do work, and I actually think it's really cool. Like when I was there, a lot of the vibe I got and some examples I was given is like basically of all the work that gets done, 40% of it is like assigned to you. They give them a lot of leeway to like find stuff they're passionate about and just like spend their time doing that. Like I was given a ton of examples of like really cool things that were added into the game that was not like a higher up in management being like, make this. Someone just thought something was cool and they made it, and it was sick, right? I think class devs might, if they follow that same philosophy, this wasn't in the class design department, but like maybe they have stuff they have to do, class they have to do, and then like they have passion projects, they play a bunch of different classes, and they're like, dude, I think this would be really cool, and then they work with that guy. I don't know. I'm also making all this up. So, like, maybe. I don't know that, but... Let's see. They probably have to do the cool stuff on their own time, and they'd rather just go home. No, that's during work time. What is it? People just want a guy to blame, so they all think each class has a designated dev. Yeah, you definitely especially see... Definitely especially. You see that with WoW players that... Do you guys know how you can read someone's message sometimes, and if you were to think about it for like more than a second, you'd be like, that person's definitely never had a job before? Like when you read those messages, I think you see more of that, because they don't view working at Blizzard Entertainment as a job because they can't relate to that. They view them as this like antagonistic person who's like ruining everything that they like, you know, and that's a pretty unhealthy way to look at it. Max, will you be joining my guild to level up in the War Within like you did in Dragonflight? Oh, yeah, I did. We transferred off of Illidan because Illidan is always horrible on expansion releases, and we leveled on like random different servers. Maybe, yeah. I'm pretty sure I still have a Discord channel. It's called Give Me Home. Is it? Yeah, it's there. It's in my Discord. And the only purpose was I wanted someone to give me home. If I'd work at Blizzard, my sole mission would be to make the game terrible for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That is true. With cross-realm guilds and cross-realm mythic from the start, is crafting the only reason to be on a big pop server right now? Oh, I've never actually thought about that. I've never thought about the benefits and disadvantages of being on a big or a small server as it's progressed through WoW's history. I mean, I know it used to suck big time by being on a small server versus a big server, but then like the only time big servers are bad is when you have a queue time or when like your server doesn't work on an expansion launch, which has happened a few times. But now the auction house is regional, I think. What is it? The percentage of unemployed mouth breathers is high on Twitch. None in my chat, though. Everyone in my chat is successful and handsome. I found this out a couple years ago. Not YouTube, though. Lamau! Not YouTube. You guys are fucking degenerates on YouTube, you hear me? Huh? Hey. You hear that? What's up? YouTube L. No response even. Oh, he just said true. That's hot. Okay, Olivia K. Hey, hide your name, by the way. Hey, guys, YouTube viewers, you are not beating the you use your full name allegations, guys. You can shed it to anything you want. Come on. Max, can't you combine the two chats? Nah, someone linked me like some program that does it, but it like doesn't show the emotes on both, and it doesn't work with 7TV. As far as I can tell, no one has made a good chat combining thing that has everything I want in it. But if that's ever true, where that someone does that, I will use it for sure. Max, new Wowhead Ian interview article. Okay, I'll browse it then. I'll browse it. He said it's very designy. I like designy things. Ooh, wait a second. Okay, we've seen all these graphs before. This is the sub chart. This is the things that went wrong in Shadowlands chart and what they learned from that. We've seen that before, and then I guess they referenced that in an interview. Let's just poke at this. Let's just poke. Well, this is the Wowhead like recap of this, I guess. Let's go to this website, and it's definitely not going to be super bright. And it's bright. And look at that. And it's bright. Okay, we're going to just do this then. Whatever. Okay. It's time to rebuild some foundations. Shadowlands forced Blizzard to rethink WoW's oldest ideas to make a better MMO. I mean, that's kind of obvious, right? It's ever since 9.1.5, they've like clearly changed their tune on like pretty much everything when it comes to that. So this isn't really new information, but is this an interview from published yesterday? Interesting. I swear I remember reading an article titled something like this like a year ago. World of Warcraft developers did an abrupt about face after largely refusing to acknowledge player feedback during the Shadowlands expansion that nearly killed the game. Okay, so definitely a lot of people were not playing WoW during 9.1, for sure. I do want to point out that as bad as 9.1 is, I don't think it's possible to kill WoW. And I think we learned that from this. Like, dude, everything went wrong. They didn't listen to us at all. The expansion was fucking beans. When this was happening, everyone went to play Final Fantasy, and they were getting sued out of their ass, and there was just, like, an unbelievable amount of ridiculous shit that was happening, and that, like, happened at Blizzard Entertainment at the same time. Like, I cannot imagine a world where something worse could happen than how bad the game was then and all of those things. And now WoW's, like, fucking... I think the War Within is going to be massive, right? Like, I guess really what I'm trying to say is I wonder if you can kill the game. Like, if it's even possible. Because they fucking tried, you know? Like, are they going to ever try harder than that to kill the game? Reptar's so good at being a dog. What's he doing right now? Oh, he's doing crazy dog stuff. Look at him. Reppy. Hi, Rep. Hi, Rep. Oh, he's so big. Oh, come here, buddy. Reppy. Oh, what a big yawn. What a big stretch. Come here, Rep. Come on, Rep. Come here. Come on. Yeah. You're a little Rep. Come here. Oh, he's so big. Dude, he's such a cutie. Hi, little Rep. Dude, remember when that person came in my chat and said, Max, your dog is a black-mouthed cur? And what they were doing was telling me what his breed was, but I thought they were calling him a dog slur. That was a crazy day. Anyways, back to the article. And in many cases, the answer is yes. And I put the stone back and we continue. A recent example. Oh, yeah, this is about the Mythic Plus overhaul. Very true. I feel like, dude, didn't the last couple weeks kind of feel like that? Like, it kind of felt like 9.1.5. Like, they posted proposed Mythic Plus changes. They got the same response they got about Covenants. And 1 week later, they gave us exactly what we asked for. It did kind of feel like that. Or like the same kind of vibe. They literally completely changed their entire plan in a week because of the response they got. I just don't know if there'll be enough here. Let's see. Okay, we've read all this before. Thank you. You guys like little Reptar breaks? They're good. Wait, what is it? Whoever said WoW's only opposition at this point is Riot's MMO. Riot's MMO isn't set to be released till 2026 now because they had to go back and redo a bunch of stuff. Guys, the Ashes of... someone mentioned Ashes of Creation after that. Riot's MMO is never coming out. They basically pointed out that Riot... Like, Riot basically said this game is not happening. And then Ashes of Creation is... I mean, that game's going to be awful. You know what I actually realized recently? Because I was playing a little bit of Terra's Land, and people kept coming in to say the same thing. Is this going to be the new game? And the answer to that is no, but I find it so strange that people feel like a game coming out has to be the only game you play. And if it's not that, it's a failure. Bro, here's what's going to happen with Terra's Land, probably with us. We're going to do these raid bosses that are super fucking fun, by the way. And then... they're going to be over, and then we're going to play WoW, and we'll probably come back to play Terra's Land. But even if we don't, it's still great that we played a game for a month, had a ton of fun, and then never played it again. That is a fucking turbo value. That's crazy value, right? But people don't look at it that way with MMOs. It's like, you either play this game for the rest of your life, or it's a failure. It's not the WoW killer. It's like, dude, like, what? You'll be so much more happier with games if you just play them. Like, dude, if you buy a game, you don't even have to buy this game. If you buy a game and you get a month of gameplay out of it, that's fucking insane. That is like really, really fucking good. But I've just seen so many MMO weirdos in my chat when I was playing this game that it's just, anyways, just something that was on my mind. I just found that so interesting that I think it's like an MMO gamer thing. More than other games, people feel that way, where it's like you have to just only play one game kind of thing. Which I just think everyone who plays more than one game is just happier than people who want one game to entertain them all the time. Like, I feel really strongly about that. Let's see. Kind of began a process asking ourselves, are we going to face the reality that players have changed? Warbands are a great example of how WoW is evolving. Yeah, okay, there's nothing here. This is just a whatever article. We've heard it before. What is it? MOBAs had the same issue until everyone accepted League of Legends will never die. I mean, I guess maybe didn't Battle Royale games kind of feel like that for a while? It was like PUBG, and then Fortnite kind of took out PUBG. Well, for a certain demographic at least. And then it was like Apex came out, and they're just, it seems like people want to flock to the game that everyone's playing. But then after a while, there's like a PUBG community, there's an Apex community, there's a Fortnite community. Right. Fortnite took out everything? Not really. Fortnite took out all the BRs for kids, but I think adults still played a wide variety of them. Fortnite just took over children gaming everywhere for a few years. Warzone destroyed Fortnite's for adults. Yeah. Fortnite sucked up all the squeakers, and I thank it for that. You could have phrased that better, but I get what you're saying. Anyways, I'm gonna go heat up some food, and I'll be right back. Dude, you guys want to watch that tier list video that everyone got mad about? Someone said it was Petco, right? Let's just do it, and let's watch it, and no matter what happens, we're going to agree with it and just assume that's how the entire expansion's going to be. Where is this shit? Where is it? I thought someone said there was a tier list. There ain't no tier list here. This is just made up. This is not here. Why was everyone freaking out about tier lists? There had to be a video people were referring to. It's Kelani. It's on Icy Veins. Oh, Kelani. Must be different. Kelani. Wow. Signs of Kelani. Different Kelani.
Folks, this is Kelani. Season 4.
I was like, maybe she made WoW content, but it looks like she's a musician. Signs of Kelani. Melee DPS ranked. Best single target in AoE, best hero talents, best overall. Oh, this is going to be a banger. I'm going to agree with everything they say. Let's go. Let's fucking go. I hope my class is S tier. If it's not, they're wrong. What is it? Isn't that the guy completely lost when it comes to current content? I don't know. Whatever. He made a tier list, so whatever he's saying is right. And we're going to watch it. All right, let's go. Tier lists are definitely accurate at this point in time and surely won't change totally. Yeah, that's why we're looking at it.
Hey, Hey folks, this is Kalani. The War Within expansion is quickly approaching, which means we don't have too much longer to lock in our main characters.
Lock in,
that
chat.
first character has to be a good one, right? Well, we're going to go through every melee spec and see which ones are going to be on top for single target, who's dishing out some great AoE.
Dude, he's saying it so confidently. These are the ones that are going to be good. Dude, that's so dangerous.
And which ones look...
Just for context, in case you don't follow along, I know like not everyone in here is like super beta brained and they're like paying attention to what classes are good in other streams. The tuning in this game right now is nonsense. Hero talents are doing all of your damage or none of your damage. They haven't really been tuned yet. So like who's doing the most or the least right now is completely not how it's going to look when the expansion comes out. And no one, I truly think no one could possibly know what's going to be good or bad. Like honestly. But whatever this person says is right, and that's what I'm going to say is good. Let's get it.
Good overall. We're also going to talk about hero talent trees, how they change up your rotation, whether or not they look cool, and whether or not you can actually tell they are there, because some of them are so passive you won't even notice. So here's our list of melee DPS ranked for the War Within, and which ones are looking to be on top for the start of the new expansion. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe.
Also, by the way, just basing on their voice so far, I'm not positive, but I'm fairly certain that this is a different
well, we're going to go through
this is a different Kalani than the musician. Like 99% sure, even in case anyone was still stuck back there.
Never miss another video. Let's kick things off with the warriors, starting with Arms. Arms has had quite a few changes so far. The main difference going into the next expansion is that you won't be generating as much rage, but pretty much everything will cost less rage as well. Thankfully, that does leave you in a place where you're not really waiting that often for auto attacks to generate rage to actually use an ability, so it's definitely not as slow as it has been in the past.
So S tier.
The general theme and key abilities haven't changed too much. You're still the two-handed weapon specialist, dealing massive damage with multiple...
Dude, every time you see default nameplates, you're just reminded, how could they be that bad?
Keeping your foes bleeding with rend and overpowering them whenever you can. There's some cool changes with cleave and the talents that really focus in on big AoE pulls. There's definitely a lot of potential for both single target damage and AoE, but the gameplay and rotation don't feel too smooth, especially when compared
this sounds
to
like a B tier. This is a B.
And even Fury Warrior, which we'll touch on in a moment. As far as hero talents go, they're not great. Colossus gives you a new ability, Demolish, which deals a lot of damage, but you can't really move while casting it. I've personally never liked being locked into these kinds of animation-based abilities. It's an easy way to catch a stray fireball or swirly, especially in hectic raid encounters. The big hits are fun, but that's all the hero talent tree really has going for it. The Slayer hero talents are actually less interesting, mostly because they don't really change too much about how your abilities work, and there aren't really any cool visuals either. There are no new animations or effects from what I can tell, but hopefully that changes before we hit live servers. Slayer revolves around Execute and Blade Storm, empowering those abilities and giving you access to them more often. Blade Storming more is always fun, but that's kind of all it has going for it. There are also quite a few buttons and minor cooldowns to manage, and the rotation feels okay at best. At least you're not super range starved, though that would have made things even worse. I'm going to put Arms in the B tier.
Let's go.
Moving on to
Let's go Warriors. That's good. That's at least average. You know what's funny is when your class is average, you should be happy. Because like, well, someone has to be average. I guess, but the reality is everyone just wants to be really good. So 90% of the game is mad at any given time. Because average or above average doesn't make you happy, you have to be the best. So everyone's just always mad. I'm mad. I'm mad, and now I'm mad.
Arms in the B tier. Moving on to the Fury Warriors, grab that second big axe or sword or mace because you're going to need it to smash some mobs to pieces.
S tier,
Fury hasn't changed all that much in how it really plays either, except Bloodthirst got buffed quite significantly, so it's back to being a high priority ability, and you'll probably be weaving spells around its cooldown. Personally, I find Fury a lot smoother rotation-wise, and it's actually really enjoyable to play. You've got some beefy cooldowns, a few different options for talents and setups, and some good utility thrown in there as well. The only problem I have with Fury, and I guess the same thing really goes for Arms, is that there isn't anything too exciting going on with them right now. It's kind of the same old, but if you play Warrior right now and you love how it plays, that's maybe not a bad thing. As for the hero talents, Mountain Thane is really cool. It powers up Avatar and Thunderclap, making them both more potent, but also giving you more access to Avatar, which is always fun. The aesthetics are really cool, especially when Thunderclap turns into Thunderblast, and at least you actually have some new visuals with
got to be S tier, chat. S plus.
Mountain Thane also basically replaces Whirlwind with Thunderclap in your rotation,
Dude,
which feels way
do
better
not,
than...
It's Yent. Do not ask him to ask me to stop pausing. You're inviting chaos. You want me to do that thing I do once a video where I dunk on someone for doing that.
Probably sounds, and Mountain Thane is definitely my
Dude, it actually does trigger me. It does trigger me when people do that. It's not going to trigger me now because you guys are going to do it on purpose, but when they unironically do it, I get so mad.
Super flashy, isn't all too interesting, and doesn't change much about the buttons you press. The Thunder and Lightning theme of the Mountain Thane is way more interesting to me, but with smooth gameplay, the one good hero talent tree, good options for single target, and amazing AoE potential,
it's S.
Fury
It's S.
just
It's
lands
S.
a spot in the A tier.
Bullshit.
For me. Let's check out the Survival
Fucking
Hunters
bullshit.
next. Survival was recently changed quite significantly, and it's currently in a really good spot. If you love throwing explosives...
Alright, Warriors,
into
you
big
heard it. You
packs
guys
of mobs,
fucking
you're
suck
in the
this
right
expansion.
place. Wildfire bombs are simpler to use, there are no rotating buffs to manage with Wildfire Infusion, and the dot doesn't override itself. It adds the damage just like Ignite. Tip of the Spear now boosts damage from any ability, and your major cooldowns are easier to use too. Explosive Shot also became super important and interacts with your other abilities in cool new ways.
I do agree. That's why I said you all suck.
More bombs to throw into
You're
your
not
enemies'
S.
faces.
You're not S, you suck.
It's satisfying to play. You have a lot of great options for ramping single target damage or exploding everything in AoE, and overall it's been made much easier to pick up and understand. It's actually one of my favorite melee specs to play right now. The hero talents are where things get a bit iffy, because it really feels like Sentinel was made for marksmanship, Pack Leader was made for beast mastery, and then Survival just kind of gets stuck in the middle, picking between the two.
That's actually true.
Sentinel revolves around a stacking debuff that you can interact with in a few ways, like dealing massive amounts of AoE damage as the stacks start to ramp up, but the main thing you have to play around is Lunar Storm. Every 15 seconds, your next Wildfire Bomb will also summon an owl that fires at enemies within 10 yards. The main problem is that the AoE stays where you activate it, so if the trash mobs or bosses move out of that area, you are going to lose a lot of damage. Playing around a static...
That's got to take it down to at least A. That's
AoE
a bad
quite
downside.
Annoying, but the other hero talent tree isn't any better. Pack Leader focuses on buffing your pet, its basic attacks and kill command more than anything else. So not only is it not super great thematically for Survival, but it doesn't really boost any of Survival's key abilities.
Okay, down to a B. Down to a B, maybe.
Despite that, Survival is actually doing ridiculous amounts of damage.
Back up to an S.
Try and ignore that, because balance tuning could swing either way before the expansion launches.
Come on.
With all of that in mind, Survival lands comfortably in the A tier for my list. Let's take a look at Ret Paladins next, because oh boy, are Ret Paladins looking good. The embodiment of a holy warrior.
Faith Father, come on, come on.
And might to take down their foes. The rotation for Ret is super smooth, probably one of my favorites right now.
True.
And you have great options for single target and AoE. You can make pretty much any ability hit multiple targets, which also makes it easy to switch between the play styles. I'm gonna throw a fucking fit if he doesn't make it. You can also get wings every time you use Wake of Ashes, which is really fun to play around with. Yep. I also love that their main cooldowns are very short, so you get to use them very often. It's quite familiar if you played it through Dragonflight, with some very nice quality of life upgrades.
Dude, at maximum, suddenly you became funny, ha ha ha. Is that are you roasting me? That's like saying, that's like when someone says something unfunny, you like laugh really hard and be like, bro, that's the funniest thing you've ever said. And then you're like actually insulting them. Fuck you, chatter.
Paladins are also generally quite versatile. Between the various blessings, easy off heals, and life-saving buffs, they bring some amazing utility to any group, which is always a plus. The rotation is smooth, spells and abilities are impactful, and the cooldowns are really cool. They also have some of the better hero talent trees. Templar is all about massive damage with big hammers, and I mean massive damage.
Oh yeah, I got a
Their
big
new
hammer
ability
for it.
hits like a truck, and you can cast it twice in a row sometimes. The other talents focus on various buffs and little hammers, but that big hammer of light is where it's at. If you want to be the unstoppable holy warrior with big hits, you're gonna love the Templar hero talents. Herald of the Sun is a bit different. It emphasizes a paladin's connection to the light of the sun. Your abilities create these sunspots on enemies which deal damage over time, and you get a nice haste buff for each one active, but the really cool stuff happens when you use Avenging Wrath. Not only do you apply more of these sunspots, so you deal a bunch more damage and get that sweet haste buff, but all of the debuffs connect with these solar lines, which also deal damage and healing. It looks cool, has some nice bonuses, and it fits the paladin theme quite well. Putting all of that together, Ret Paladin becomes the first spec joining the S tier for my list. Moving on, Demon Hunters are in an interesting spot because they haven't really seen too many changes so far.
Holy fuck.
The class and spec talent trees are mostly the same as they are on live, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You're still backflipping, fell rushing, eye-beaming, chaos striking, turning into a big demon and slicing everything in your path. If you enjoy Demon Hunter and Dragonflight, you know what to expect. Personally, I really enjoy the playstyle.
Except it's simply just worse than what it is in Dragonflight.
Specs to play. Eye-beam is just too much fun. So where things are going to change are with the hero talents, and it's kind of interesting because Demon Hunter only has 2 specs, which means both specs have the same hero talent trees, and it feels kind of like one was made with Havoc in mind, while the other one was made with Vengeance in mind. Aldrachi Reaver gives you an empowered glaive, the Reaver's Glaive, which empowers
this sounds like fake news right now.
Different benefits when you change the order in which you use them.
This sounds like fake news.
So it can actually change your rotation depending on your situation, and there are some big damage boosts in here. The problem is that triggering your Reaver's Glaive requires you to consume soul fragments or cast the hunt. So you have one guaranteed trigger.
Dude, I hope he rates DH high because... Dude, maybe this makes me a bad person, but like Demon Hunters always being mad at everything is so funny to me. It's like I want him to say Demon Hunter's gonna be sick just so Demon Hunters in the chat are just like, no! Just like that.
Reliably get
but like they all have anime avatars, so they're picturing like an anime scene where like the hero's been defeated and he's like, no, because that's them, like in their mind. They're like the anime protagonist.
Hero talents rolling, you'll need to generate and consume soul fragments, which is very easy for Vengeance. They do it more or less passively, but you're kind of stuck just running around collecting them as Havoc, so that's definitely not ideal. The other option is Fell.
Dude, did anyone else notice this Demon Hunters in his group's name is... Oh, that's not him. I thought that was him. There's a Demon Hunter in the group named Hawk Tua. But I thought that was him. He's smoking Hawk Tua, by the way. He's destroying that guy.
Which focuses more on demonic and metamorphosis to deal extra damage and grant you various buffs. There are even buffs that carry over after your demon form ends, so it's not just piling more damage into your existing damage windows. You do get some great buffs for the in-between time as well. It's a lot of fun and it feels really powerful. With a great kit, fun abilities, and some interesting hero talents, Havoc Demon Hunter lands squarely in the A tier.
Yeah, right, Havoc?
The rogues next.
We're looking good.
With Outlaw.
Let's go, Havoc.
Swashbuckling, sword-swinging, sneaky dice rollers.
Let's go, Havoc.
Have shifted around for Outlaw, so you might not be able to pick up all
That's
the
all
same
of them in their head right now.
Dragonflight, and you're also losing Shadow Dance, which means you're relying on Vanish for any extra stealth windows now. There are a few more options in different ways to play, but for the most part it plays like Dragonflight, just with less Shadow Dance. Outlaw is still one of the fastest melee specs to play. It almost seems like the faster you can play it, the better you're going to do.
Class that can get even more mad than Demon Hunter, strong contention for Rogue. Let's go, S tier.
So if you handle the RPM, it might be a fun spec for you to pick up and play. Where Rogues disappoint right now are with their hero talents.
Okay, that's actually a fact, though.
Fatebound, which is really cool thematically. It all revolves around the flip of a coin. So it's got gambling, look at the draw rogue,
love gambling
all over it, which I really love. The downside is that you don't have any exciting visuals to go along with your coin toss. You do throw out a little coin.
Wait, Rogues ain't even mad, just depressed? Oh, that's sad. That's even... Okay, well, I don't even want to make fun. Is that true?
But that's kind of it,
that's
and
sad.
You're not going to see that when things start to get busy in Melee.
Poor Rogues,
all of the bonuses and pretty much everything happening is also in the background. They don't change how you play, and you don't interact with your coin at all, really, so it's just a passive buff with a bit of RNG sprinkled in. The other option is the Trickster tree. You attack with unseen blades when using other abilities, dealing damage and applying a new debuff that briefly increases your damage to the target, and then every 4 unseen blades powers up your next dispatch. There's also a handful of options that cause killing speed
where's
to
it ranked, though?
with the hero talent mechanics.
Where's it ranked, though?
But that's kind of it. Nothing particularly flashy or interesting or exciting, and just like Fatebound, it's mostly happening in the background. So the hero talents are a bit lackluster, but Outlaw Rogue itself is still fun to play, especially if you love mashing buttons. It should also do pretty well for itself in AoE especially, so it's going to land in the B tier for me. Moving on, let's talk about Assassination. Just like Outlaw, there are a handful of changes for Assassination. Shadow Dance was removed, and Kingsbane was limited to about half of its previous potential, so we could see some shift arounds in what talents are played and some variety there. But you're still the poison and bleed focused spec, and the general gameplay hasn't changed all too much. I also feel like Assassination takes a lot of work to get any damage out of it. There's a lot more to keep track of versus
Dude, Assassination's the best rogue spec.
And way more than some of the easier melee specs on offer.
It's actually not true.
If they end up doing amazing damage, that would definitely be worth it, but that's going to come down to tuning at the end of the day. Assassination feels okay to play.
I think the best rogue spec is like a really well-made Outlaw. I think it's even better than like old combat rogue. A really, really well-made outlaw. I mean, it's kind of different. Like what you're getting out of Assassination Outlaw are like good at but they're very different. Like I feel like multi-dotting assassination, like a 2 to 3 target multi-dot raid fight assassination, is so fucking goated gameplay. But I also feel like if you're a little zoomer, like super fast outlaw is also like something you're gonna get that other rogue specs don't give you.
Exciting on the table, it feels just a bit meh. Personally, I've always preferred Outlaw. I think it plays much better, and the hero talents definitely don't help either. Assassination can go Deathstalker, which is all about focusing in on one target and killing it efficiently. That's the actual assassin theme. That kind of fits sub-rogues more these days, but it's a cool idea nonetheless. You mark your target, deal extra damage to them, and you can deal massive damage to low health enemies too. You can only mark one target though, so that's going to skew how useful these bonuses can be in different types of content. It's an interesting premise. I like the fantasy of it, but outside of the mark doing a bit of extra damage when you use combo points, there's not much actually happening.
Oh, C tier then.
The other hero talent option for assassination is Fatebound, so you get to flip the coin and enjoy.
You know what I do respect though? Even though all tier list content is objectively made up, and it's also really made up right now, like in WoW's history, this is the most made up any tier list has ever been, is like right now before the War Within, at least at this point in time. At least he actually has VODs of him playing all these specs, and he's fucking smoking people too. Like he's, you know, I don't know who he's playing with, but he's not like just doing nothing, right? Like he's at least playing the classes. Like there's a lot of people who do this and they're just like absolutely yapping, but at least he's putting in the time. Shout out him. This is why I'm saying everything he's saying is right.
Massive bonuses you end up with. You don't really feel
if he doesn't put Windwalker in S tier, I'm going to turn off my stream.
It's kind of hard to get excited about them, in my opinion. With all that in mind, Assassination is going to end up in the C tier for me.
Oh, get shit on.
Rogue spec under the magnifying glass is Subtlety. As mentioned earlier, Sub-Rogue will be the only one shadow dancing going forward, so they've reclaimed that as a spec exclusive ability. There are a handful of other changes too, but nothing all too crazy. You're still the stealthy, sneaky, stealth again, deal as much damage as you can before stealthing yet again Rogue spec. It's also still one of the most complicated melee specs to play, and that seems to have been the Subtlety special in the most recent expansions, and it doesn't look to be changing with the War Within. That means you are relying entirely on theory crafters to figure out how to best make use of the rogue class changes or the hero talents.
Every class does that anyway.
It's a lot to get your head around. Playing Subtlety effectively is pretty difficult, and with everything put together, Sub just feels okay to me. For the hero talents, Subtlety
is this first D tier?
Trickster, which gives you those free attacks, new debuffs, some extra AoE potential for sub, and the empowered spenders, or Deathstalker, which, as we just talked about, has an interesting premise, but doesn't really have too much going on. So the hero talent choices only drag sub down further for me, so it's gonna go in the C tier alongside its assassination sibling.
Rogue, you're so down bad. Look at that. Dude, re-roll, guys. Rogue, you heard it here. Rogue is fucking cooked in the expansion. You're done.
Feral Druids
no spec is good.
And the main abilities and components are largely the same, with a big focus on bleeds, which can be hard to get used to initially, but thankfully there are plenty of ways to apply bleeds to multiple targets, so Feral plays a lot better than it has in some past expansions when it comes to AoE and content like dungeons. There are a handful of fun new additions, and the talent tree has been shifted around a bit, so that could create some new builds, but you're still applying your bleeds and spending any excess time and energy on biting stuff as hard as you can. The rotation is okay. There are quite a few moving parts, so you do have to keep on top of all of them, so it's not as smooth as some other melee specs in my opinion. I'm also not really a fan of how many talents you need to pick up.
Just watching him do gameplay here, I'm telling you, if you could customize your personal resource display, where like these buttons up here, that's like super random what buffs show up there, but if you could choose the buffs, like a trinket, proc, actual important cooldowns, actual important things to track, and all you had was just your energy, your combo points, or whatever resource your class uses, I think the personal resource display could replace almost all weak auras and add-ons and be extremely good. It'd be so nice. It'd also really help for debuff management too. You can have like certain debuffs show up here. I just hate personal resource display because like you can't change what's up here, and it chooses really random, non-important things to be up there. Like Tiger's Fury is a good example of something you would want to see, but like most classes, it's nonsense. Like it doesn't. What is up here makes no sense. But man, it would be so nice if this if this was able to be configured so it's good for every class.
There are quite a few moving parts, so you do have to keep on top of all of them, so it's not as smooth as some other melee specs in my opinion. I'm also not really a fan of how many talents you need to pick up in order to get the most out of their major cooldown in Berserk. There could be a lot more interesting talents to choose from in that cluster. Maybe we'll see more changes before the expansion goes live. It is worth noting that as a druid, you have amazing flexibility and some great utility as well, so they will always be
druid's utility is insane.
Now, the hero
Ursul's, Typhoon,
Druid of the Claw
a stun or a disorient.
Physical damage, which can turn your ferocious bite into Ravage, which looks cool and deals AoE damage.
Stampeding
You don't get
Roar.
it very often outside of Berserk, which is a bit of a shame. It also applies yet another bleed effect, so it's definitely on theme for feral druids, but that's kind of it. The Wildstalker set is a bit different because it shares with Restoration Druid. This one focuses on Bloodseeker Vines, which can grow when your bleeds deal damage. There's some good
I think this one's...
here too,
I'm not a big fan of the design of this one.
And they explode when you ferocious
the
bite
vine one.
or when they expire, and they provide a decent damage boost to their targets too, but almost all of that will be happening in the background, so there's not much active gameplay here. So the hero talents to me aren't the worst of the bunch by far, but they're nothing too special either. Very middle of the pack. With all of that put together, I think Feral belongs in the B tier. Enhancement Shamans are up next, and they're a little disappointing. Not because they're bad or anything, but when the Shamans were promised a rework, you would assume all three specs would be involved. Sadly, while Elemental and Resto got some big changes, Enhancement didn't. The class talent tree did see some new stuff, but Enhancement itself is mostly just the same as Dragonflight, and the dev team have said that they plan on keeping it that way. The one big thing that they did get along with the other Shamans is a new raid buff, Sky Fury. This provides 2% mastery and the Wind Fury effect to your entire part of your raid, so there'll be no more Wind Fury groups, and everyone is going to want at least
that's
one
actually
shaman,
so good.
So that's great.
I actually haven't streamed since they did the Shaman raid buff. I have not been live to talk about WoW ever since they've done it, but I think it was a great change. Like, they not only do you not need Wind Fury groups, like, dude, we brought 2 enhancement this tier because, and like even the second one was getting some value. You'll definitely always bring a shaman for this, if not for the Wind Fury part alone, and then the mastery is just like a little extra. And now you don't have to worry. And like, also, if you've ever played Enhanced, putting down Wind Fury Totem was absolutely terrible. So like, the fact that it's just passive now is just so good.
News. Enhancement itself can be quite awkward to play. There are a lot of procs and quite a lot of abilities as you weave melee skills with quickened spells. It can also be very fast-paced and kind of like playing whack-a-mole, but if you can keep on top of everything, it can also be quite satisfying. Yeah,
dude, I think Enhance is one of the most unique classes in the entire game. Like, most melee can be boiled down to like having a generator that's either giving you like a ways to spend runes and generate runic power, a way to spend energy and generate combo points, a way to spend energy and generate chi. You know, that's like a lot of melee are like that. But Enhance found a way to, like, you do have a spending resource, but basically you don't have like a builder spender as much. You have spenders, but like your builders are different cooldowns that proc for different reasons and have like a different priority system. I find it like really interesting. Specifically the elemental version of Enhance, I find to be like really, really fun. So I'm actually just a big fan of what they've done to Enhance in general.
Really fun in AoE, where almost everything spreads or cleaves, and you can shoot out chain lightning as often as possible to zap everything to death. As for the hero...
By the way, did they fix the thing with Tempest? So when you're playing the lightning build as Stormbringer, only Lightning Bolt is Tempest, but not Chain Lightning. So if you're AoEing in a pack and you proc Ascendance, it's just not going to be shooting off your Tempest, even though it's both Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt at the same time? Okay, if they haven't fixed that, that's actually super trash, because like having to not actually press Storm Strike in your Ascendance and change it to Chain Lightning or change it back to Lightning Bolt, it's so bad.
Talents, there are some cool options in here too. Totemic doubles down on totems, giving you a new surging totem to deal AoE damage.
Stay mad Enhanced. D tier, by the way.
To boost its damage.
Calling D tier.
The totems and empower them.
No rework D.
With certain talents,
reroll.
Which will definitely pigeonhole you into different talent choices, which isn't...
Guys, if you're playing Enhanced, hey, just play Ellie one time, huh? Ellie has had to not have a raid buff for the past 2 expansions because you have had one. You all have to just play Ellie for a patch. That's your job.
Super ideal, but I think it's fine if the results
are
good. The big problem right now is that the most recent changes actually broke the totemic hero talents. It kind of just doesn't work anymore for Enhancement, so when that gets fixed, it's an interesting setup, especially if you love the totems aspect of Shaman. The other set of hero talents is Stormbringer. This one can change your Lightning Bolt into Tempest, dealing AoE damage and triggering various bonuses. It also gives you more access to instant empowered chain lightnings, which
Spend your maelstrom, you psycho.
Sadly, the Tempest ability's visuals do leave something to be desired. It's more of a pulse of lightning, which looks quite sad next to things like chain lightning. Either way, if you love the lightning
fucking
theme,
pitiful.
I'm sure you'll get a kick out of Stormbringer. I don't enjoy it as much as some of the other melee specs, and it's a bit broken on the beta right now, so enhancement lands in the B tier for me.
Oh, only B. Let's go. You're sad, Enhanced Shamans. Your time in the raid is over, by the way.
Now, one spec
Stay
that has
baby.
seen a huge rework going into the War Within.
Oh, S tier as fuck. S, S, S,
Windwalker
S,
Monks.
S,
What a great
S,
job
S.
they've done. There are a few distinct ways to play, depending on which
Why did that druid do
Windwalker
that?
Monk.
Everyone was fine
And what a
until they
great
did
job
this.
They've done. There are a few distinct ways to
Why?
play, depending on which facet of Windwalker you want to lean into, with new talents and abilities to power up your favorite options. It's really hard
S.
to cover everything because Monk and Windwalker especially has probably seen the most changes in the beta so far, and you have even
that
more
true?
strong options for AoE, if that's even possible, including cleaving blackout kicks, which is awesome when combined with the free
You've had
multiple
that last
blackout kicks,
expansion?
or you can pretend to be an elemental shaman with massive
Ooh.
AoE crackling chain
Yes, sir,
lightnings.
and it owns.
Monk remains is one of the most mobile classes as well, so
It's
they
so
almost
back.
have
S,
a perfect
S, S.
package. It feels
S.
smooth to play. I love how many options there are, and I think
S.
it's in a great spot as we head into the
If you don't put in an
expansion.
S, I'm turning off my
The hero
stream.
talents are
S.
thematically cool too. Conduit of the Celestials turns you into a
S.
literal conduit, channeling the power of the August Celestials to deal massive AoE damage, but as you fight, each Celestial also aids you in combat, contributing something different. There's also an effect that speeds up your major cooldown significantly, so you get to push those fun buttons more as well. The other option is Shadowpan, which builds up charges
Okay,
of fury
Shadowpan
strikes
stinks.
that are unleashed all
Shadowpan
at once, dealing heavy
stinks.
damage. There are also some massive buffs that you can proc,
S.
but it seems like the result is random, which does introduce
Give me what
a
I want.
good dollop of RNG into the tree. Sadly, most of the tree does happen in the background without really changing much about
Let's
how
go.
you play or what you prioritize. Still, if you like punching stuff, the tree lets you punch stuff more, so it's definitely on theme for Windwalker. With a fantastic rework,
Yes,
plenty
yes,
of options,
yes,
smooth gameplay,
yes,
great mobility,
yes,
and some fun hero
yes,
talents, Windwalker Monk
yes.
lands comfortably
Let's
in the
fucking
S
go.
tier for my
Dude, my
list.
fucking my mouse was
let's
over the
round
stop
things
streaming
out
button,
with
by the
Death
way.
Knights. Frost saw a handful of changes and quite a few
I
new
would've done
talents
it.
that offer different ways to play, but the basic gameplay
Let's
remains
go.
familiar. So if you play
Dude,
Frost
my
Death
two
Knight
classes are both in S
semi-recently,
tier.
you know
That
what
is
you're
so
signing
sick.
up for. There are options to pump your single target damage and focus on obliterate, and lots
Let's
of
go.
different ways to deal big AoE and cleave damage. Frost Scythe was changed into more of a mini cooldown, and there are also quite a lot of new talents that interact with your auto attacks, so if you prefer more of a passive
B.
playstyle, Frost might be a good pickup too. Breath of Sindragosa is still an option, so if you love that runic power race, you can get some great numbers with Breath. The general fantasy of Frost Death Knight is also really cool. You embody an unrelenting frozen storm, smashing and slashing your foes with ice and snow. There's no question you're a Frost Death Knight. I mean, who else gets to summon an undead frostworm to breathe across the entire battlefield
Nobody.
and accidentally
Only
fool
Frost.
the boss? No one.
That's a very
It plays
specific
really
thing,
smooth,
but
you have a lot of different
you're
ways
right.
to play, and the abilities are impactful. What's not to like? The hero talents for Death Knights are also really cool. Rider of the Apocalypse lets you summon the 4 Horsemen, which do different things. Amazing class fantasy, though it is a bit more passive than I was hoping. The really cool part, though,
Dude,
is that
and
you
there's
summon
why
class
breath feels
fantasy.
bad.
Apocalypse
Ready?
lets you summon the 4
Pops
Horsemen,
breath.
which do different
Starts
things.
owning. Pack dies. Runic power
Amazing
goes to
class
0.
fantasy, though it is a bit
Day
more
ruined.
passive than I was hoping. The really cool part, though, is that you summon all 4 Horsemen whenever you use Frostworm.
Dude, they should make breath whenever you leave combat. Breath should halt your runic power, should channel to full, so you start the next pack with breath still up and full runic power. What could go
The
wrong?
really cool part, though,
Besides
is that
getting
you
threat.
summon all 4 horsemen whenever
And
you
obliteration,
use
DK is
Frostworm's
being very
Fury.
mad.
So that lets you create these big damage windows where all 4 bonuses are active, and you can guarantee that. The other option is Deathbringer, which focuses on a new Reaper's Mark ability. You mark an enemy, and whenever you deal shadow or
I
frost
actually
damage,
do
you build
respect
up
the fuck out of this guy for playing every single melee spec, by the way. I actually mean that. Like, this tier list is nonsense, but, like, he's kind of doing tier lists the way that I do tier lists, which is he's using a tier list to click on the video, but he's using the time to just talk about what has changed with the class. The issue is he's ranking it. Another thing I like to do is have other people rank it against each other, which makes it even more comically inaccurate and hopefully drives home the point that tier lists are always a meme. But I actually, after watching this, I kind of respect this. He has not done bad damage on a single melee spec. There are not a lot of you in chat who are mad about tier lists that actually could play every melee spec right now in beta and crank whoever you're in the group with. So I actually kind of fuck with this.
Stacks,
as long as people don't take it too seriously.
Actually explodes. There are so many other AoE options in here, summoning scythes to slash your foes, creating waves of Shadowfrost damage. It's super cool to play around with and has some nice visuals too. Death Knights might actually have some of the best hero talents right now in my opinion, so Frost makes it into the A tier for me. Now Unholy Death Knights are shaping up very well too. Sudden Doom was changed to interact with festering wounds and proc more reliably.
This is my other class I might play.
And pretty much all of your cooldowns were reduced, so you'll have access to them more often, including Army of the Dead coming down to a 3-minute cooldown, which can also be replaced with an Abomination on a shorter cooldown.
He's not ranking power either. Yeah, which he did kind of lie about. The title is Best Single Target AoE, Best Overall, and like he's not really talking about that at all, which is an insane YouTube clickbait. You guys all got tricked. I got tricked.
A typical mini army, or you can just straight up summon an Abomination.
Get fucking tricked.
That is the ultimate Unholy DK fantasy right there. There are more ways to spread and apply festering wounds to multiple enemies, like festering scythe.
Dude, rel me. I don't want to fucking hear it, dude.
To use, and your general
I don't want to hear it.
Seem to be the same. Keep the diseases running,
none of that,
and pop your wounds, and deal as much damage as you can. Unholy is way more complicated when compared to Frost, though, in my opinion, as well as compared to some other melee specs. You have so much more to manage, which can be fun if you love playing mini games within.
I still feel with the Unholy. I love playing Unholy, but like when I play with the spec tree, I still feel like, man, what's the... Okay, I know you could argue that like every class in the game is kind of like this, but every time I make a build on Unholy, I would do anything to get like 2 more points to get everything I want for what I'm trying to do. I know it sounds so stupid, but there's no other tree where I feel worse because I feel like I can't have something I really want for the build I'm trying to pull off. It's like, and other classes to me don't feel that way. Like you feel like you're kind of getting everything you need to do what you want to do, you know? There's like too many things that enable disease or wound or like death coil, Magus of the Dead, minion damage stuff. Like it's all like, I'm not saying you should be able to do all of it. It's just really frustrating. Every time I'm using the Unholy Tree, it's so frustrating.
Games, or it could end up being too much for some players. When it all lines up and you get the rotation down, it is a very satisfying spec to play. For hero talents, you get the Riders of the Apocalypse, so those potential 4 passive bonuses, or all 4 at once whenever you use Army of the Dead. Summoning the 4 Horsemen will always be a win for DK Fantasy, and it feels great for Unholy DK too. Or you can go for San Lane, which feels more like a Blood DK thing with the whole Blood theme and focus, but it actually plays really well. Your Scourge Strike can be replaced with Vampiric Strike, giving you extra healing, a haste buff, and some extra damage buffs. During Dark Transformation, you always have Vampiric Strike, and the haste buff goes crazy. So you can have
that shit goes crazy
while using Sam Lane. It's fun to play with.
I don't know why him saying goes crazy that fancy is funny to me.
You always have Vampiric Strike, and the haste buff goes crazy.
It's even funnier the second time. Why is he saying it like that?
Even more haste to work with while using Sam Lane. It's fun to play with, but there isn't anything too special on the
goes crazy.
Front. With all of that in mind, Unholy rounds out our list at the top of the A tier. But that's how I would rank the melee specs as they stand right now.
Dude, my 2 specs are fucking goated. Oh my god. I have such good taste.
Some big changes before the War Within goes live, so keep your eyes peeled for class changes and balanced tuning as we...
Is this what everyone was getting mad about when they were tweeting? I feel like this is a great video. I feel like people, if they got mad, just got mad at the title. But that is fair. Like, I think people can hold... If you're going to use clickbait YouTube titles to get people to watch your video, you also have to deal with the backlash of people getting mad about your YouTube clickbait title. The example I always use of this is Preach. Preach, when he like stopped making WoW content, which he had done for many years as his main content, he made a video in which the content of the video was very reasonable. It was like, hey guys, I still like WoW. I'll probably play it again in the future. I just kind of want to do some other things for now, and that's it. Any reasonable person who listened to the video would not be mad at him. He said nothing controversial whatsoever, but the title and the thumbnail were like, I'm done with WoW forever. That's basically what it gave. Now, a lot of people clicked on it because of that, but then Preach would like come back to play WoW like during a beta after that, and people would be like, I thought you fucking quit, huh? You fucking little bitch. I thought you quit. I thought you were over WoW, huh? Which is super weird behavior in the first place, but you can tell those people only feel that way because they read your title and didn't listen to you. And then he complained and he's like, I never said anything like that. But hey, your title gave off that impression, so you have to live with that. You have to live with that if you're going to clickbait.
Approach the release date. What do you think of our list? Is there anything you would completely disagree with, and where would you put your favorite specs? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you're interested in supporting
let's go Daniel J.
Channel, you can
let's go Doctor Spelled Wrong.
Let's
go
join button just below
Steve.
The video. If you
Two
enjoyed
Seans.
the video or found it useful in any way, make sure to subscribe
let's go
and ring that
Sang.
notification bell so you're always kept up to date.
Oh my god.
Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun. And
this is what it looks like when I'm by the way, YouTube, just letting you know, this is what it looks like when I read YouTube chat. This is what it looks like who's typing. There's someone named Rage, and then there's a couple Debras. Maybe there's a Karis, maybe a Matthew. Because y'all just use your real fucking names on there.
Always, I will see you next time.
Fucking DJL. Alright. Anyways. That's hype. Alright, I don't think I'm going to stream for too much longer. Anyone have anything else interesting before I get the fuck out of here, or what? Wait, what is it? Max liked the video. Dude, can I be honest with you guys about something? But you can't make fun of me no matter how much I'm wrong or you don't like it. I'd be willing to stand on this. Like, maybe I've done it by accident one time. So if, like, someone had a gun to my head and I had to answer honestly if I've ever liked a YouTube video, I'd probably answer yes, because I must have at least accidentally done it once. But I don't think I've ever liked a YouTube video. I don't think so. Like, when I watch a YouTube video and it's great, I'm like, cool. And then I go do something else. It's never hits my brain that I'm like, I should like this. I don't know why. I've just never done it. Right? That's also probably why YouTubers are like and subscribe, because I guess you wouldn't if they didn't tell you to do that or something, but go like every dorky video? No. Max, will Trill play for Liquid again? Yeah, he's playing for us in this upcoming raid. When I took his team out to dinner after they won the most recent like PvP tournament thing. I think that was in Dragonflight Season 4. Maybe it was before that. I don't remember. But they won something, and they were at the Team Liquid facility, and I, like, took him out to dinner after, and Trill was, like, hard fiending to raid again in front of his whole team, and they even, like, encouraged him to do it. It was very sweet. Let's see. Max wined and dined Trill. I didn't. I was there with the whole PvP team. I mean, when he left, like, it was pretty mutual. Like, both the PvP team and the raid team, whenever he's doing both, you're getting 90% of Trill all the time. Like, during a couple races, he was doing the same grinding that everyone else was doing, but he was losing 4 hours of sleep at night after grinding for the race to, like, queue PvP, because that was what was required of him. So he was, like, low on sleep. He had his motivations mixed in different places, and that wasn't working for us as much as it was working for PvP. Like, it just didn't. The worst of this is when he was doing MDI World First and PvP at the same time. So, like, my rule with him is, like, if you're going to raid with us, you're not queuing PvP one fucking time until this is over. And then after it's over, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But there's no doing both. So part of figuring out him coming back is also getting him to do that as well. So Let's see, Max, your top 3 specs you're looking forward to in the War Within. Windwalker and Ret, because they're both S tier, and then I'm just gonna make something. Holy Priest. Love Holy Priest. Fucking crazy. Also S tier. Super S. S S S S S. Max, who is your best friend? Would still be there if you weren't successful or totally changed careers? Well, a lot of my really good friends I know because of my career. I know because of playing games. But like IRL friends, yeah, I'm like really certain actually. Like I'm actually like really not like stingy with friends, but like you definitely know the feeling of someone who like changes their tune around you and they feel like you are like somebody or you are successful or should be known or something like that. And then like people who you know for a fact from knowing them that if you did like literally anything else, they would just be cool as fuck and they don't care. It's like really easy to sniff those people out as an adult. I think the people I surround myself with are absolutely people like that. I don't fuck with people at all that like highlight fame or like success or money or something as like a reason they would like someone or want to know someone. I actually like really, really fucking hate that. A lot. Let's see. Max would still be friends with Growl after Dorky and Dratnos leave him for a younger and hotter JPC. Dude, what? Dude, there are moments like this when I know that my stream has to turn off. Because, like, there's no way I would have read that shit, like, 2 hours ago. Like, what are you fucking talking about? What did you just type? All right, I gotta go. I'll be live tomorrow.